Yeah, my cat doesn't do much. She doesn't really play. She is either sitting in a box sleeping or laying on the couch sleeping. And if you try to pet her now, she just bites.
Aww. How's she doing with both dogs?
They're, Rocky's fine with her.
Yeah.
Ow! Fucking, God.
Speak of the devil.
Bit hard. No, she always bites. It just usually she doesn't bite down. She just puts her mouth on you and you feel teeth. That time she actually bit.
Alright, so I guess, is everybody good with their lists? We don't have any last minute additions or edits. Mike, you think you're good finally?
I guess. I mean, I guess. Yeah. Like this.
You missed Mike explaining how he had really only 8 movies in his top 10, but there was like 6A and 6B.
No, I had 11 movies, but there was no 10. There was a 6A and a 6B and a 1A and a 1B, and it was... But list Nazi over here says I can't do that.
I have very little control over these things to begin with, so I will enforce what I can. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy and Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Josh Zorch.
Oh, these are my favorites. You guys are in for a treat.
Mike Bradley.
I'm here.
That's good. And saving the best for last, Paula Miller.
Raylo is my halo.
You got your intro down. I think that's your staple.
I love it.
All right, so we're into December. 2018 is coming to a close. Sadly, there's no Star Wars movie coming up in the next few weeks, which is sad for all of us. So we're occupying ourselves with our top 10 most anticipated movies of 2019. The most anticipated lists and our favorite movies of the year lists, they're always, I think, my favorites to get to. So, and I'm happy to have a fresh face for this episode too. I think this is Paula's first episode where we've had like a top 10 list involved.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
I posted one last year, like what I was anticipating for this year. Or no. Yeah, I think I was.
Yeah, I think after we posted
I
it, yeah,
did.
you added
Yeah.
to the comments. That's right. So now you're actually here for everyone else to see too, or hear
In real time. Real time.
So this will be fun. So if any of you haven't listened to one of these episodes in the past that we've done, I'll try to give you sort of the rundown here. Each of us has made a top 10 list of movies that we're looking forward to next year. We have not compared lists before this, so I fully expect us to have duplicates. We'll see if they end up in the same spot as someone else and see how closely they resemble. We'll start with everyone's number 10 and go to 9, work our way up to 1. And then after we get through everyone's top 10, we'll end with a few honorable mentions that didn't make the cut. And I think that's pretty much it. We decided on the order before we recorded, so we're going to go Mike, Josh, Paula, and me. So, kicking it off with his number 10, Mike, what have you got?
All right, at number 10, I have the return of something that we were told would never happen again in the movie from Rob Zombie, 3 from Hell. We were told at one time that we would never see Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding again. He had his final appearance, supposedly in costume a while ago, but he's coming back to do it again. It's going to be the continuation of the story from Devil's Rejects, or a prequel of some sort. He hasn't really released a synopsis yet. But he has released a cast, and the Fireflies and Captain Spaulding and the same people from the first 2 films will be back. A lot of what Rob Zombie has done in the past, some of it's good. There's good things and there's bad things. But The Devil's Rejects, I thought, was a fantastic movie. I'm not sure if it's his most recent movie or next to most recent, but 31 was, I don't want to say a horrible movie, but it was not very good, with the exception of the fantastic performance from Richard Brake, who I really want to see someday play the Joker. If, he always plays a very creepy kind of character. It's just kind of his thing. Brian, have you seen the movie Doom, based on the video game, The Rock and all that?
Oh, I know of it, but I haven't seen it, no.
Okay, well then
I can give you a reference. He's Joe Chill in Batman Begins.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that is Richard Brake, and if you go back and you watch the monologues that he did in 31, and you watch just the parts with him, not just look up his scenes and either cover your eyes or just cut it off when it goes away from him, so you don't have to deal with a Rob Zombie film, but just see him and see that role as him being like the Joker. It would be amazing, in my personal opinion. But as far as I'm concerned, Rob Zombie's, like I said, he made a lot of films. Most of them I don't care for, but The Devil's Rejects I really do. And I'm hoping that this is more in line with the quality we got in The Devil's Rejects versus the crap that we usually get. But it is continuing that story, so it is here on my number 10.
Yeah, I don't know if I can chime in too much on this one, because everything you referenced, I have no idea what it is. Well, I mean, I know of. I should say I know of it. I've never seen it, nor do I care to. So, anybody else have anything to add?
I can try. I may, given the lens that you put it through, I may have been able to enjoy The Devil's Rejects more had I not seen House of a Thousand Corpses first, and knowing that's where they came from. Like, if I was able to get 10 more minutes of those characters in some other way in Devil's Rejects that gave me enough backstory that I didn't ever have to see House of a Thousand Corpses in my life, I would have preferred that.
That's fair.
I didn't see 31 or Lords of Salem, just because I haven't gotten around to them. Not that I don't want to, I'd give them a shot. I didn't mind his Halloween movies. But I will say, yes, the one thing I think he always has going for him is he is able to put together surprising and very eclectic casts.
Yeah, he gets the best out of people, and I can't recommend watching 31, other than for the moments where you get to see that role. Beyond that, it sucks. I mean, there's actually a point where there is a Mexican Nazi midget killer chasing them.
Oh.
I think that
is the mind of Rob Zombie.
I think the word picture I just formed in my mind is sufficient, and I don't actually have to see the film version.
Right. But I'll recommend the same thing I said to Brian. Watch the performance Richard Brake put on. His performance was so good, it couldn't save the shit that was the rest of it, but his performance was incredible.
All
right. Paula, anything to add for that one?
Nothing. Not a thing. No. Thank you. And scene.
We'll have the Disney-fied list from Paula, and then we have everything else that Mike and Josh can come up to really
Rainbows
go left
and
field.
butterflies in a few minutes. So. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Josh, I guess you're up.
Yeah, well, this is actually one that, it always seems like every year right before we do this episode, there's always some reveal, for the upcoming year that, none of us knew anything about, didn't see coming, and it always intrigues me enough that, it's always in the forefront of my mind, so, since, I'm kind of quasi-preoccupied with it, it always ends up making, the list at number 9 or 10. So this year, that is going to be Brightburn.
Oh, okay. I was curious if that was going to make anybody's list.
This is, effectively what looks to be what if Superman, without it being Superman, officially, what if Superman, as an alien baby, landed on Earth, but ended up being a completely, possessed, horrible asshole? and
Yeah.
just perhaps to a supernatural end, but just like evil. The general premise struck me. I liked the visual that I was seeing, the colors and the way that the trailer made some of the scenes look. It also helps me that Elizabeth Banks is in it. I love
She's
like
wonderful.
everything. Yeah, like I've never seen her. Even if there was something that I didn't particularly really like that she was in, it was never because of her. I always enjoyed all of her work. And interestingly, this is being I gotta see if it's being I know it was written by. So okay, it was written by Brian and Mark Gunn, who are the brothers of James Gunn. And
Sean Gunn.
And Sean Gunn, yes. Banksy and James Gunn worked together years ago. She starred in James's movie that he wrote and directed called Slither. It's a horror movie with Nathan Fillion, Michael Rooker, among others. So there's the previous connection there. And I liked the mood in the trailer. Brian, you saw it too.
Yeah.
I will say, I think like the last 30 seconds of it
It takes a turn.
It does. It like to a distinct, almost like, oh, this isn't gonna just be what if he turned out to be bad. It kind of looks like it's turning like to a horror movie aesthetic.
Yeah. I had caught the trailer just on my YouTube feed and was curious to just see what it was, so I started watching it, and I got probably about to the part that Josh is talking about, and I was like, nope, this isn't for me, but I know who it's for, and then I forwarded it off to Josh so he could check it out. The concept of it, I think, I'm with Josh, I think sounds interesting. I just don't know if I personally will end up checking it out. Mike or Paula, have you guys seen the trailer for this? Do you know what we're talking about?
Just now I looked it up. It looks absolutely frightening, so I will stay in that. So, I probably will not even be putting this anywhere near my list. It'll probably be down the corner around the street from my list.
Fair enough.
Yes.
The lovely Elizabeth Banks, as you just complimented a minute ago, wouldn't be enough
Yes.
to get you there?
she's in my list, but in a different movie. Mm-hmm. Hey.
Yeah, Mike, if you haven't seen the trailer, I'd say check it out. It might be
do
more up your alley.
Yeah, Mike,
I was
I think you'll definitely
oblivious
dig
to
it.
this beforehand, so.
And they promote James Gunn on that twice. They say,
Yes, 'cause he's
produced by
acting as
James
producer.
Gunn. And then immediately after that, the next title card says, from the visionary director of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He's not even directing. It does
didn't
not
write-
list the director.
Yeah.
Like
Genetics. He's tied to
Yeah.
it genetically.
It's funny how like Disney does not want him associated with any of their crap anymore, but every other studio is like, here's James Gunn, here's what he did. Look at all this awesome shit.
Yeah.
So I find that kind of funny.
And he delivered Disney two massively successful movies, commercially and critically, and so
From
everyone else still recognizes that.
Yeah, it was from characters that were not a sure thing.
Yeah.
This wasn't Spider-Man that James Gunn did that with. This was the Guardians of the Galaxy, where people were like, who?
Who?
And then they saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and now they're in love with it.
So if you're somebody else, if you're Fox Searchlight, if you're Warner Brothers, if you're Amblin, it doesn't matter who you are, if you can mention James Gunn, and even if you don't know who James Gunn is, yeah, if you say, creative force behind, or director of, writer this, whatever it is, you put Guardians of the Galaxy up there, a lot of people know that.
I'm just thinking about this now. Do you think it's telling that they didn't put from James Gunn, the visionary director of Guardians of the Galaxy, they put James Gunn names first, and then put visionary director of Guardians of the Galaxy. So if you don't know he directed Guardians of the Galaxy, if you're just a normal person watching the trailer, you're thinking, oh, okay, the director of this directed Guardians of the Galaxy. You don't realize that James Gunn did that.
Potentially, but I think in the trailer it does say that like Brightburn is being produced by.
Right.
It's like produced by James Gunn, visionary director of. But I guess Okay, I guess I see what you're saying, that if because there's a split in the title cards, you might just think it's saying, oh, produced by James Gunn, and separately, this is directed by whoever it was that directed Guardians of the Galaxy as well. I see that. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, just the thoughts that come into my head about the way people market stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything else to add for this one? I don't know if Paul and Mike, since you guys haven't seen the trailer or anything, if you have anything else to add.
I'm going to watch the trailer.
Okay.
Sounds absolutely frightening.
It it is as of now. It is set for I believe Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
As is a couple of other things that I'm sure Paula will.
So
probably
it'll
be
definitely
mentioning.
be counter programming to a lot of stuff that's coming out that weekend. So it might actually do pretty well that weekend, just to be the exact opposite of stuff that's coming out that weekend.
Very well could be. And the fact that, you know what, it's interesting. I think the fact that for a while now, not like there's been a shift, like almost for like 10 years, that Memorial Day weekend itself, like that Friday, is not really the launch of summer movie season anymore. It's not like a big, massive marquee action blockbuster of any kind is like, that's the weekend they pick. I mean, ever since like Iron Man, effectively, it's been like beginning of May has been like a sweet spot for Marvel movies and for some other things, but that specific weekend like isn't really used in the way it used to be.
No, it's not. Which is, I think, we've had this conversation before. I think it's better. I'd rather see them spread movies out over the course of the year instead of jam-pack them all in 4 weekends over the course of the summer.
Yeah, and then you end up missing 5 movies that you wanted to see and only catching a few.
So I'm completely happy if they want to start all these freaking movies out in February. I'm cool with that. Give it to me. All right, so let's move on to Paula. Paula, what's your number 10?
So my number 10 is going to be Spider-Man 2: Far From Home.
All right.
Coming out in July. So I had never been a huge Spider-Man fan in the past, and
Blasphemy.
I never saw any Spider-Man movies until the Disney Marvel Studios took them over.
Oh, wait, time out a second.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
So you have or haven't seen the original Tobey Maguire ones?
Never, no.
Okay.
No. I've only seen the recent ones.
Okay. So no Andrew Garfield, no Tobey Maguire.
Nope. No.
Interesting.
Blissfully unaware of the Spider-Man.
See, that's something I would
past.
think would be fun to watch, just knowing where we're at now and seeing what came before.
I'm actually watching the Tobey Maguire ones with my nephew right now since we got caught up on the MCU.
Yeah.
And so that's what we moved on next, was going back in time, and he wanted to do Spider-Man, and we've watched the first 2 Tobeys. And the first, just to your comment, the first one is really starting not to hold up as well anymore. It's really, it really does have that late 90s, early 2000s action-y comic book movie look about it, like so many of them had.
Never been a big fan of Tobey Maguire. Maybe that's why.
Could be.
Yeah, and then it was with the Andrew Garfield, never really on my radar. And then, with the MCU, I'm like, I have to see the Spider-Man, which was amazing. It was a fantastic movie.
Yes.
And I love Michael Keaton, so that made it really easy.
That helps.
So from what I understand, I couldn't find too much of a synopsis as to what is happening. But I guess, he feels better.
Could be a prequel. Could be a prequel.
There's
True.
speculation that it could be
before.
before the events of Infinity War.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll be okay. Who knows? But it looks like that there's a chance that Michael Keaton might be back. Jake Gyllenhaal would be Mysterio. And Zendaya's back, and I freaking love Zendaya. So she's so saucy. So yes, this is my number 10. I'm very excited about it. I think maybe it would have been higher up on my list if I knew more about it, but there really wasn't much for me to research yet. So it is, in fact, my number 10.
I think if not for the major spoilers that would be in a synopsis potentially, you might have more information out there about it. But because of the Avengers coming out before it, I don't think you're going to get much information about it until after.
I'm still really curious to see how they market this movie.
Yeah, because they got to try to do something in advance.
Because if they're going to start putting trailers out before Avengers Endgame, they're going to either have to establish the time period. Either they just don't talk about the events of what happens in Infinity War and Avengers 4 and just try to ignore it until you see the movie, or they definitely make it a point to say this is before Infinity War and the events of that movie so that people know that this is a prequel.
Right. Because if you've seen Infinity War, the moment you see Peter Parker on screen,
right,
you're like,
everything's better.
Well, what does that about? And am I, like, if I don't know a whole lot, am I getting, like, are they treating me like I'm stupid?
Right. Yeah.
It's that's going to be difficult.
Honestly, you want my perfectly honest opinion about how you market this movie?
Yes.
Absolutely. Nothing would make me happier.
Avengers 4 happens, and then you say, hey, we're putting a Spider-Man movie in theaters. And you just make that known, and you'll make $1 billion. I'm just saying, coming off of Avengers 4, and it being Spider-Man, it's not going to need as much marketing as if it was a lesser character.
You know, almost the
Ant-Man.
smartest thing they could do, sort of piggybacking off Mike, is instead of having like some sort of end credit scene at the end of Avengers 4 to push you into the next phase, just put the trailer for Far From Home there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's poetry.
And you ensure so many people see it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even give you a total number, but an insane amount of people are going to see that.
We have so many good marketing strategies, I don't know why no one hires us. I feel like we do this all the time. We're just giving them free ideas.
They can't find
we gotta get our podcast into their
earholes
zone.
Earholes.
Yeah, it's a good choice, Paul. I think it's safe to say it's probably going to hit a couple other people's lists.
Mm-hmm. As a sidebar conversation, as it relates to trying to publicize upcoming things, it is, I think, very interesting that I'm glad, but it's interesting that Marvel got smart enough to realize that they don't need to tell us anything that's coming after Endgame until Endgame is over.
Yeah.
Like, I was worried that a year ago, 2 years ago again, that they would be like, here's what's coming for the next 5 years. And, you know, I brought that up before, and I'm glad they've held back. I mean, number one, because they realized it would be much smarter knowing the progression of the story they were about to tell.
Yeah.
To wait to do that. But if Spider-Man comes out at the beginning of July of 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks later is Comic-Con. San Diego. So I'm sure that's probably where the big announcement about what the next slate will look like. But
well, sort of like what you're saying, I kind of hope they don't do that. Like, this would be the first phase where we don't know what's happening the entire phase. If they announced them one movie at a time, I think that'd be a lot more fun.
Or 1 year at a time. Like, announce...
Yeah,
you know,
that'd
like,
be fine too, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's coming this year.
Well, they usually do that at the Disney one, the one that happens every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is it the year? Is it the year for that, or is this an off year? I can't remember.
I think this is an off year. 2019 is an off year. But I don't think it would be super lucrative if they, did away with Spider-Man. He's so young, and they probably got like 2 or 3 more movies to get out of him.
Well,
oh yeah.
And here's the they're not getting as much out of it though, and it's the one character in Infinity War that you see go that Marvel just doesn't have as much of a stake in.
That's true too.
They want that full stake, but they don't have it.
It made my list, and I don't know anything about it.
It's just that Sony, not Marvel, has the rights.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
they're
a
not
whole
making...
other conversation, Paula. We can try to get into that.
We get into this conversation all the time about how much that pisses us off. But Marvel does not have as much of a stake to make that money off of him. So if they did write his death in permanent...
Not so sad, okay.
You know.
Well, that's an it brings up an interesting point about how the marketing decisions will be made for a solo film again, because if, depending on what that agreement says, Disney and Marvel Studios may have very little say on what Sony decides to advertise, at what time, in what way.
That's true. We keep talking about this like it's a Disney property. It's technically a Sony property, so Sony could advertise whenever the fuck they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just okay.
I mean, maybe they'll,
That's a headache.
Yeah, maybe they'll sit on their hands and realize, if we allow Marvel to make this movie for us, they make us $900 million. If we screw with a part of their fabric, they might not do that for us anymore. So hopefully we'll continue playing nice and not be jerks. But you never know.
This time, Sony's still playing ball with Marvel, so we'll see how long that lasts. I'm waiting for something to happen to split that relationship, but so far so good. All right, so we'll move on to my number 10. My number 10 is How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Nice.
Because
Dragon, yes.
I love the other two movies so much. They always have a lot of fun. They're always a lot of fun. They always have a lot of heart. They're really, really enjoyable. I think they're underrated for a lot of people. I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talk about them, but I love that series, and I'm excited to see where they go. I'm guessing this is the last one they're going to do.
I would kind of hope, because they've done so many...
girlfriend.
Yeah, they've done so many spin-offs and like direct-to-Netflix series and specials.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of those. But I have. I love the two movies, but any weird stuff like that, I just write it off as designed for kids.
Yeah.
DreamWorks definitely has something amazing there. Like, it is a great story, and I cried for the first one. That was. I'm really excited to see this one as well.
They both hit me in the feels, so I'm expecting this one to do it to me too.
So I have actually not seen the second one yet, which blows because I've been trying to for like 4 years.
Well, I own it, Josh. So whenever you want to watch it,
we'll
plan a movie day.
It was weird because I saw it years ago, either like right before Sarah and I met, or just as we met, something like that. And she never saw it, so a few years later we watched the first one, and then it felt like for 5 years the second one was on streaming on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then about a year ago it went away, and we never got around to watching it. Yeah. I was like, I never went to go buy it, never borrowed it, never rented it, never did anything. Now it's been gone for a while, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. And I dig the first one a ton.
Yeah. Second one's still a lot of fun, too.
To the point where for a while, I actually have a Halloween picture of one year that our one black cat, who has, just like Toothless, has like very vibrant green eyes. We fashioned these little wings out of like construction paper and pipe cleaners and tried to like wrap them around him to make him like walk around the house to look like a dragon.
Nice.
That's adorable.
So like for just like a 2-week period, we were calling him Toothless because he kind of looks like it and kind of behaves in that like very shy, like reserved way.
Right.
So yeah, I just dug it a whole lot. I just need to catch up.
We'll get you there. We got some time.
When does that come out?
That is a good... I want to say February, but I don't know if I'm right.
I don't have that much time after all. I got to get on that.
Yes, February.
All right.
I don't know the exact date because I'm just looking at the tagline at the end of the trailer that just says February.
All
so
right.
I'm sure there's an exact date, but I don't give you a ballpark.
Yeah, I got to get off my butt then.
All right, so we'll loop back around to Mike. What is your number 9?
My number 9 for this year is the reboot of Hellboy. This looks incredible. David Harbour looks like a perfect choice from the little bit we've seen of David Harbour as Hellboy so far. Leaked pictures, or not leaked, but promos, whatever they are. He looks amazing. I don't know. I loved Ron Perlman as Hellboy the first time. It's time to move on. Ron's a little bit old to keep that going. And reboot the series. Somebody a lot younger, but able to keep the role going for a lot more time, I guess you could say. It looks great. It's being directed by Neil Marshall. Most well known for a movie I'm sure Brian's never seen called The Descent.
You are correct. I've never
which
seen
is a fantastic horror film. Also did The Descent 2, which not as good as the first one, but still good. But he's also very well known for two of the most prominent episodes of Game of Thrones. The Watchers on the Wall and the Blackwater episodes.
Ooh, okay.
Which are, yeah, exactly. Fantastic episodes. So I am really looking forward to what he's going to do with Hellboy. Hellboy the character, I'm sure Brian's probably read some of the comics. Josh, have you...
Of Hellboy, I've not.
Mm-mm.
I've only seen the movies.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Very enjoyable character all around. The movie did a really good job the first time. I wasn't as big a fan of the second movie as I was the first, but still, just really looking forward to it. I can't express that enough as to how cool it looks like it's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of promise. I thought about putting it in my honorable mentions, but there wasn't too much to look at. Like, there's no trailer. We have the one production image of David Harbour dressed up as Hellboy, which to me, when I saw that, it was like, well, he looks like Hellboy, which is kind of what Ron Perlman looked like. So I didn't see a lot of differences in what they made Hellboy look like. So to me, it was like, okay, I want to like this. I want to see more, but until I do, it's still kind of like just there. Like, I know it's happening and see what happens with it.
That's fair.
I thought it was curious, looking over some of the reports that I think this is probably a good thing. Like, they're not going for just a carbon copy of what Del Toro did. So,
no.
Like, there's several main characters from Del Toro's stories, from his two films, that aren't a part. It doesn't look like they're a part of this one.
Right.
Most notably Abe Sapien, which I think was like a fan favorite, at least is my perception from the first ones, played by awesome Doug Jones. But like, his notable absence, though, I think is a good way to try to set this apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I would expect a very different tone than the first two. Just because of, your director and what we know he's done before. It looks, I would expect different.
And it's funny that this is coming up because Sarah and I just watched the first Hellboy over the weekend. She had never seen it, and it's been at least 10 years since I have. And I'd say it actually holds up really well still. But I forgot that those first two movies, the Del Toros, are PG-13 movies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure they're going for a hard R on this.
I believe that was what I read. I think you're right on with that, but I don't know that they've confirmed that or not. I have to look again to see if they actually do have any kind of confirmation on it.
Well,
I feel like just talking about it, I think Josh is right. I think that's where they're leaning as far as like when they're hyping the movie up. Just again to set the tone differently than what they did before.
Yeah, I think given the material, I think honestly it can only serve this kind of stuff well.
Yeah, so we'll see if I can handle it. I'd like to see it. I don't know if it goes that direction. I don't know if I'll go on my way to watch it.
Well, it depends on how. I mean, like Blade was rated R. I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine it'll be
Logan.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be like along those lines, not so much on the horror movie gore side. It might be graphic, but I don't know if it'll be gore for the sake of like horror gore,
Well, at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they went that direction. Like, I still feel like that would fit with them.
I don't think they would go that route with Hellboy, though.
He's a
doesn't...
demon from hell.
That's not gore, though. Like, that's not...
But when you're fighting, like, monsters that eviscerate people, I feel like that you could, if they wanted to, they could easily go that direction.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, in his story, there's no reason to.
Okay, yeah, I guess I could see it. I'm just wondering how far, if they want to really differentiate themselves from the one that came before, that would be a way to do it.
I would say expect violence on the Logan Deadpool type scale. Maybe not the comedy involved in the violence like Deadpool, but I would expect that type of violence, not necessarily the disgusting, just to be disgusting violence.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. Then you might have brought me back around. We'll see. We'll see what this ends up being. Paul, anything for Hellboy? I don't know how familiar you are with that stuff.
So let me look at my list here. That's number no on my list. So yeah, no, thank you.
Have you seen the other ones, the Ron Perlman ones at all?
You
or
know,
no?
funny you should ask. Absolutely not. So yes, thank you. I know who Hellboy is. I've seen the pictures. I don't know anything about his story. Yes, not on my list. So
Okay, fair enough.
maybe next time.
In all honesty, especially having just rewatched the first one this weekend, so it was made in 2000. Well, it was released in 2004. It's very much more fantasy-ish than anything else.
Yeah.
It's a
It's not what
comic
you
book
think.
property or a graphic novel property, whatever. But it's at least the film versions of what Del Toro made. Like the first one is honest to God, like there's very strong, obvious subtexts of like parent-child relationships and a love story combined with external threat, but it's actually pretty good.
So many good one-liners in that movie too.
Yeah.
Most of what
Yeah.
Hellboy says is very quotable.
Yeah, and it's very...
It's just Ron Perlman.
Right, and
Like-
it actually
Yeah.
has almost like a Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, dickish
Yeah.
kind of attitude about him. So actually, I mean, Paula,
Yeah,
you probably wouldn't hate it as much as you think. You actually might be like middle of the road on it. But it's
Okay.
it's I guarantee whatever you're thinking, it's probably not that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I do enjoy Deadpool, so I mean,
I would say Hellboy is a very Disney demon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
If there can be such a thing, he's a Disney
All
demon.
right. That sounds lovely.
And the ones that Del Toro made, he's a Disney demon. The new one,
What?
we don't know yet, but
Okay.
the ones that are out there, I would watch a trailer for them at least and give them a look if you think you can like it, because it's
Okay.
not what you.
If you
expect
decide to
be.
watch it, Paula, you can report back and let us know what you think.
see if you can find a picture of the
Next
cute little
podcast.
little red ape with a tail that they think he is at the beginning of the movie. It's like when they first find Hellboy, he looks like a little pet.
Oh.
Yeah. The CG on that doesn't hold up as well.
No, but it's still cute.
It is, yeah. But it's fun because a lot of that film was very practical effects.
Yeah.
Like and I think they're going to do the same thing with David Harbour. Like they went for makeup and prosthetics, which was the smart way to do. They made a costume,
Yeah.
and there are stuff that he interacts with and has to deal with that are definitely CG in nature. But even then, like Del Toro went a lot of like practical puppetry and other things. In certain scenes you can tell that. So
That's something I could totally appreciate because you don't
Yeah.
find that art form very much anymore. So
Yeah.
I do appreciate when directors go that way. And Del Toro, wait.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, Del Toro.
Yeah, he does make beautiful movies. So
Yeah, this was pre Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes, not long
Yeah.
before though.
it was right before. We actually looked it up. He did Hellboy 1, then Pan's Labyrinth, then I think he went right into Hellboy 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Should we go on to Josh's number 9?
I picked, and I actually found myself surprised once I saw the calendar that I was like, ooh, okay, this will be fun. I'm going to go with Happy Death Day to You. Here's my reasoning. The first Happy Death Day last year from 2017, I think, made my honorable mentions for that year, I believe. And I remember kind of feeling like, well, Sarah and I, got free admission to the movies at that time, and it was a PG-13 horror movie, and we didn't expect much of it, but whatever, it's free. Let's just go on a, weekday night or whatever. And it actually ended up being pretty enjoyable. It was not entirely original because it was like effectively like a murder mystery version of Groundhog Day. But they also kind of embraced that. Like, they literally make a direct Groundhog Day reference towards the end of the movie. So it wasn't entirely lost on them, and that they knew those comparisons would be made, and who knows, maybe that's just directly where they kind of took the idea off of. But it actually was kind of enjoyable. The only reason that I have worries about this is, number one, it's being released like less than a year and a half from the first one. The second reason is, if out of a sequel, so I'm going to assume that no one listening to this really is ever going to see either of these movies. So I am going to spoil the first one a little bit. The premise of the first movie, as set forward in all the trailers and whatnot, so this isn't spoilers, is a person keeps reliving the day that they're killed in an effort to hopefully solve their own murder.
Okay.
Where the story ends, the trailers for the sequel have made it apparent that through some twist of some kind, the same person has to do it again. Like in
on a different day or the same day?
The same day. Like time has passed from the end of the first movie to the beginning of our sequel, but at some point in the sequel, time basically gets reversed. She has to go back to that same day. Some kind of circumstance is different, so she kind of it's making it seem like she has to.
Are they gonna Back to the Future to it?
No, I don't. No. Not
we don't
that's
know.
the thing. Not like that. She's just there again. Like she's waking up back in the same day again. Like it's
a supernatural effect where she goes to sleep on a night, say weeks later, months later, whatever it is, and she wakes up back where she was before.
Okay.
And like some new set of circumstances has happened where she basically, I'm assuming, is then going to get killed again and have to work through the puzzle again and figure it out. I thought it would have been much more strong to connect it to someone else in her life.
Yeah.
Make someone else the victim.
I feel personally like they made this second movie for how fucking hilarious the trailer was. Because, so in the first movie, she relives this day over and over again. You get the same kind of effect that you get in Groundhog Day by the end of the movie, where she's walking through the college campus, like, pulling people out of the way of stupid shit that's about to happen to them, telling people ahead of time, no, leave me alone, all this shit. Yeah. So the same kind of Groundhog Day effect going on in there. And in the trailer, she's like, instead of being like polite about it, she's just pissed off and like flipping out on people as they're doing the same stupid shit they were the first time. And the trailer itself was hilarious if you had seen the first movie. If you hadn't seen the first movie, you'd have no idea what the hell's funny about the trailer.
True.
Who's the main character? Like what actress?
I do not know her name.
Off the top of my head, yeah, she's not like a household name.
No.
Okay.
Jessica Roth? Rothe? Rothe.
This is another one, Brian. This is a horror movie you could manage.
It's PG-13, right? I could probably handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paula, did you see La La Land?
No.
No, okay. So that might be the only like quick reference one I could give you,
Might
but
be the only
She
person
looks
in the
like a
world who
little
hasn't
bit of
seen
like
La
a
La Land.
low-rent Blake Lively.
yes.
She looks like a low-rent version of Blake Lively.
She actually does. And like not even in like in a crappy way, but that's a very accurate way to describe her physical appearance, especially her facial structure.
We could just say like not Blake Lively.
Yeah.
Like it's
Like if she wanted
she
to
could be, but she's
cosplay
not.
as Blake Lively for Halloween, she could.
Yes. She could probably fool, I don't know, who's Blake Lively dating?
She's married to
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, okay. She could probably fool him. Like, it's close enough. Like, it's extremely close. So, yeah.
But yeah, there was like some surprising, like fun, dark humor woven into the first one that I think added to the reason it was enjoyable. It was very watchable, and I think that's what I wasn't expecting. But So I said this could continue to be fun, but I just think a stronger story choice would have been for the main person affected to be someone else other than her.
Right.
Could have been her boyfriend, another, friend from the main cast from the first one, whatever. But for it to continue to be her just felt too easy of a solution to pick.
Well, I guess when we get to favorites of 2019, we'll see if this still makes your list.
Yeah. Hope. I mean, I'm hoping, actually, because there's very few good horror thrillers made anymore that can still be fun and can still do it within the PG-13 framework. It's really difficult to do that.
I think that's more of a torch that you and Mike are trying to support here. So I'll let you guys report back, and we'll see how it is.
Yeah. Well, also the strange part is the first one they put out around Halloween, and that's a good time of year for that. Teenage horror movie, PG-13. That's like prime market time.
So when
does
this one drop?
February.
Yeah. Oh, they're going for the Valentine's Day crowd.
I guess.
How romantic.
I guess, and it's got to be, because it actually is, it's releasing on the same day as another pick of mine that's coming up later.
Okay.
But yeah, it's mid-February, but I don't think it's the best timing, but I think that hadn't occurred to me. I guess you're right. They're going to try to hit that Valentine weekend crowd.
Yeah.
Dinner and a movie.
That's pretty much it.
That's when we saw Deadpool.
I mean, if Deadpool can do it.
Yeah.
All right, we good on that one? We'll move to Paula's number 9.
Okay. I'm super excited about Aladdin. The live action version. Coming out in May. And I was really surprised to find that Guy Ritchie is directing it.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I'm a fan. A really not a very famous cast, with the exception of Will Smith, who's going to be our genie. I love that idea. The only problem is that from the 1992 Aladdin, I know it pretty much word for word.
Well, that's good, because when they do these remakes, they're pretty much making a shot-for-shot, line-for-line remake.
Exactly.
Yes, so you'll be fine.
It's definitely how I felt with like Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, yeah.
Although, what's her face? Oh,
Emma
Thompson.
Watson.
Thank you. So many British Emmas. She did a great job. The singing wasn't so amazing, but you can't, I'd rather have her acting than her singing. So regardless, I loved it. So I'm really looking forward to this one as well.
Yeah.
But Will Smith as the genie is going to be like amazing.
Now, can I ask, have you been, frequenting Disney news stuff, much more than the rest of us, that would show, like, what direction are they going with the genie? Is it combination of CGI live action? Is Will Smith just voicing a purely CGI character? Do you have any idea?
No, I've only seen the teaser trailer, and he was not in it at all. Like, saw Iago, saw Aladdin, like the Cave of Wonders, but really haven't heard much about the genie. And I follow Will Smith on Twitter. I don't think he's actually put anything out yet. So
no.
He's talked more about Bad Boys 3 than Aladdin.
Priorities.
I think they're keeping that under wraps pretty well. The only thing that will disappoint me personally is if it is 100% CGI for this genie, and they are doing these word for word like they did with Beauty and the Beast and all that, and they just didn't use Robin Williams again. If it's word for word and it's 100% CGI, I would have rather it been Robin Williams.
He's got to do his own humor. Like, he has to have his own comedy. It cannot be, some of the stuff that, Robin Williams improv, you shouldn't do that over again.
Yeah. I agree. And that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I wouldn't want word for word from somebody else.
So it'll be interesting his take on it. It'll be interesting his version of it. I mean, when I saw the Broadway show, like the gentleman who did the Broadway show, he was actually from Pittsburgh. And his version of the genie, he was actually doing it in London. And when the traveling show came to Pittsburgh, he flew in from London to do the show here in Pittsburgh when it came. And we saw him.
Jeez.
And his version of the genie was amazing. And he said he was very much inspired by Robin Williams, but he didn't do exactly what you would have thought. He had a phenomenal. And you didn't want Robin Williams at that time. You were very happy with the gentleman who did it. So, like, I'm sure Will Smith is going to do his own, and it's going to be fabulous. And I'm looking forward to it.
So this is actually my number 9 too.
Oh.
But it might have made higher on my list if we had seen more from a trailer. Because I'm with Paula. I really want to see what Will Smith ends up looking like and how they do the genie and what his take on it is. And had I got more of that, it might have either risen or fallen depending on that portrayal.
Yeah.
But since we haven't seen that yet, I'm still very hopeful for it. So it still ended up making my top 10.
Potential potholes that I'm hoping this avoids. And it's Disney, so, I mean, number one, they've shown that they're not afraid to fire creative makers if they're not producing what it is they'd like to see, but...
Correction, Lucasfilm is not...
afraid to fire. Yeah, I guess. That Guy Ritchie's last immediate production directing gig right before Aladdin was that really bad King Arthur movie.
I was going to say, don't you say Man from U.N.C.L.E. because I will slap you. But I forgot about that King Arthur movie.
Yeah. So I'm hoping this is a better return to form because he's done quite a bit that I enjoy. Well, there's one other thing. You talked about counter programming little bit ago, and this, as far as I can tell, it looks like Aladdin releases on the same day as Brightburn.
Oh.
Oh.
So if I don't catch Aladdin opening weekend, I might be somewhere else.
I know what you mean.
All right, so we covered Paula and Mai's number 9, so we'll loop back around to Mike for his number 8.
My number 8 is Spider-Man, Far From Home.
All right. Oh yeah, I feel like I know it's gonna hit further on my list, so we'll get to it there too. Josh, you're number 8.
So this, I think, Brian, this might have been on your 2018 list as a last minute. I think this is your last minute edition.
Yeah, these were
last year.
There was 2 I think that I put on right at the end that day because they just released trailers for them, and I was all hyped up from trailers.
I bet I can guess. One was Annihilation, I think, and the other one I'm thinking was Alita,
Correct.
Battle Angel.
Yes,
that was supposed to be, I believe, a December 2018 release. It was
late in the year.
Basically, it's supposed to be out right now.
Yeah,
sometime this month. But they pushed it a couple months, so I think it's looking like it's going to be February.
I don't remember what they pushed it to, but you might be right.
And piggybacking on something we also just said, if
Valentine's Day, Josh.
Yeah, if what I have is true. So basically, this and Happy Death Day to You open the same weekend. And I wouldn't mind a nice double feature. But no, I actually, the more that I see of Alita, the more I'm kind of digging it. It's one that the initial previews had me interested, and whatever the delay was for, whether it was just timing issues or if they actually needed a little bit more to do some post.
It seems very special effects heavy, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're fine-tuning some of that stuff.
But, I mean, all the elements combined, that we probably talked about last year, directed by Robert Rodriguez, screenplay by James Cameron, shared with someone named Laeta Kalogridis. Try to give credit where credit's due. Whatever you think of James Cameron, especially... Oh, and Robert Rodriguez also has a screenplay character, so all 3 of them have writing credits. Cameron makes a good story.
Yeah.
He is a very good story person. And I think the cast looks really freaking amazing. I'll hit the highlights for you real quick. Jennifer Connelly, Rosa Salazar, Mahershala Ali, Michelle Rodriguez, Christopher Waltz, Jackie Earl Haley, Ed Skrein, Casper Van Dien for shit's sake, Jeff Fahey, a Lost alumni and worked with Rodriguez in Machete. I think it looks pretty sweet. I'm interested to see if it is as different as I think it is.
Yeah.
Or if it just looks very glitzy, but it's kind of empty. I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still interested in this. Funnily enough, it made my top 10 last year. It did not make my top 10 this year.
Yeah.
Only because I think there's too much that I wanted to jam pack in my top 10 that it just kept going further and further down the list, so I didn't put it in my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of the ones that was like a last minute removal.
Yeah.
Because I figured we talked about it before, so it wasn't so much that it maybe necessarily isn't in my top 10. It's that I was like, we've talked about it. I'll put it in honorable mentions.
Yeah.
You know, like it was an easy one to move because we covered it so much over the last year that
At this point, it's not new anymore.
right.
Like, the trailer when it came out last year was new and fresh, and it looked different. But now all this other stuff is getting in its way, that it feels like we should have seen this already. So it's not, I don't know, it's not as fresh, I guess. At least that's my mindset.
Sure.
I agree.
And now you're comparing it against a different population of other contenders over that same
Right.
12-month period. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Paula, do you know anything about this movie? Have you seen any trailers or anything?
No, but I have actually seen marketing at the movie theater for it. So I was kind of interested when I saw it. I'm like, well, I wonder what that is. So I looked it up and I'm like, nah, not interested. Yeah.
The more you learned, the less into it you became.
Yeah, I was like, that was pretty good marketing. It was really big too. I was like, that's no, thanks. Yeah, I sound like such a movie slob. I'm like, no to that. No, thank you.
Hey, everybody's got their
No,
got what they're
yeah.
into.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
mean,
it's fun to have this not random, but a variety of people on here, because Josh and Mike are representing the horror. You've got Disney on lockdown. I'm probably somewhere in the middle, but I don't talk about the horror crap. But yeah, so I mean, it's good to get, because people listening might not be into the same stuff that I am into, but they might feel more in line with you or Josh or Mike. So it works. We cover all the bases. I think.
Yeah,
this
it
way.
definitely was on my visual. I won't even say on my radar because it didn't quite make my radar. I was like, no thanks.
I
Fair
think
enough.
with Alita, the easiest way to describe, you know, like when Brian told me about it last year on this same episode, I was pretty much oblivious to it. And I was like, whatever, you know, it's going to be cool sci-fi. And then, you know, as he's talking about it, James Cameron's directing. Oh, now I'm paying attention.
Yeah,
Like, it's a whole different ballgame when James Cameron is attached to something.
right.
I think he's just involved with the story. I think Robert Rodriguez is directing, right?
Yes.
That's more of a hook for me than James Cameron.
Okay.
But to be completely honest, like, Robert Rodriguez has his own amazing style, and to put him on something like this
Yeah.
is very interesting. But either way, James Cameron attached to the movie is incredible
Yeah.
for any movie. So yeah.
Okay. Should we move on to Paula's number 8?
Oh, yes. Wow, it's me already. Okay. My number 8 is Lion King. Live action version that comes out in July. Let's see, Beyonce. I'm gonna yes. So Queen Bey. James Earl Jones is coming back,
That is fun.
and yes, Donald Glover. I think no.
Yep.
No, yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, he's gonna be in it, and the cast looks amazing.
I'm pretty excited for Timon and Pumbaa.
And
John
Zazu.
Oliver.
Yep.
Yeah.
John Oliver and Seth Rogen as Pumbaa,
And I think Billy Eichner.
as Timon.
Yeah.
Looks like they got some new hyenas. And of course, James Earl Jones is Mufasa, but I already said that. Yes, you can't have it. Well, thank goodness somebody preserve him forever. So it's gonna break your heart because that little lion is just. Yeah, we all know the story. Come on.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yes,
amazing.
everybody knows. Spoiler alert, 23 years later.
Right. So everyone knows the story. Now it's live action, and we're living in this amazing age where digital animation is going to be fantastic. So like one of the questions was like, will the actors be kind of like in those CGI suits? Are they going to be actually moving, or like how is that going to work? No, I can't find any information on it, but even
how they
just
did
their iconic voices is going to be amazing.
Do you know how they did the Jungle Book? Because Favreau directed that, and
Yeah.
now he's directing this one. So I imagine it's the same. However they did that one, they're going to just do it for The Lion King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they did motion capture for Jungle Book or not.
Well, I mean, Jungle Book at least had one actual human character. This has 0.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think Rafiki's the closest we get.
Yeah.
But for the animal stuff, I don't know if they let people motion capture for the animals or if they just CG'd all the animals in there and that was it.
I'm pretty sure because they're supposed to move and like actually look like they're actual animals. I don't think you're going to get people doing motion capture for that.
Okay.
They may motion capture an actual lion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the replacement, you figure if having to put, bipedals and turn all of them into 4-legged creatures, you're
Quadrupeds.
Yeah, like you're not really gaining a whole lot, I don't think, from motion capturing a human form just to then replicate it. But
Right, okay.
I
don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they did shit like that with the technology they have now. So
true, and I mean, I'm sure Disney just starts picnic fires with money.
Oh,
so
yeah,
they
and
probably
I mean,
could do that if they wanted.
I wouldn't say it's outside the realm of possibility for it to be like face capture technology to capture emotions.
Okay, yeah.
But the actual movements, I don't think you're gonna see. That's almost definitely not. But the face, all that, I could see that being part of it.
That makes sense.
No, Paula, can I ask your feeling on this one?
Sure.
There was something I read after the trailer, the teaser, whatever was released, that someone was making the point that they actually hope that the vast majority of the songs, specifically from this one, as opposed to some of these other live-action remakes, that they strip most of them out. What's your feeling?
I think especially if you have Beyonce in there, there's going to be music. And there's actually more that was written for that movie that they had pulled, and they actually added it into the Broadway show. So I hope they even add more.
Oh, really?
Same thing with Aladdin. They had more songs written for Aladdin that didn't make it into the movie that actually made it into the Broadway show. So I'm hoping maybe they even, add those in. That would be amazing because animated features are always shorter than regular movies. So I would love to see them add in those. The songs are beautiful. The one that was eliminated was called Morning Report, and it was actually done by Zazu. And it was amazing. Like, he does this fantastic, complicated, long song, and if it makes it into the movie, it'd be amazing. There's also, it's been floating around Facebook a couple of times. Someone had posted the 1994 preview and put it with the new preview, and it's like almost like frame by frame, exactly the same. It's just so cool to see both of those together side by side.
That was pretty neat. I saw that. Is this another one that you hope that they take some creative license and tell the same story, but not just scene for scene, line for line of the animated, or do you enjoy that about some of the way that they're doing these remakes, and is that what you hope to see?
Yeah, I want a little same and I want a little different. Is that so much to ask? I want a little bit of both. Like, I want, the Beyonce Nala, and I want, John Oliver's Zazu. Like, I want their nuances, but I also want it, like, if I want the old stuff, I'll just go watch, Whoopi Goldberg's Hyena or something like that. Like, it's going to be great, and it's going to be different.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they kept the one voice that you just can't replace. with James Earl Jones.
Right.
There's nothing you could do to make Mufasa better.
No.
So I
So
would argue Jeremy Irons is needed too. Like if they were going to bring somebody else back, that's another voice I'd love to hear.
If anyone, yeah, but Chiwetel Ejiofor is playing Scar in this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's got a
All
good
right.
voice for this.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought, Mike.
It's gone now, so don't worry about it.
Oh, Alfre Woodard is Sarabi. So.
Saw that.
Oh wow, this is gonna be amazing. Yeah.
Keegan Michael Key is one of the other hyenas.
Yeah.
He's making
Eric
rounds in all these
Andre
Disney
is
movies.
Shenzi.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is gonna be fantastic.
Cool.
So how many does Disney have coming out this year? Like 3 or 4 of these live action remakes, right?
So at least 3. Lion King, Aladdin, Dumbo.
Yeah. And those are like all packed into the first like 6-7 months of the year. Do they have anything on the back end in the fall?
Not that I know of.
Not
I
that's-
don't know.
Like live act, not like digital, but they have
Everyone's staying away from
animated
Star
movies.
Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Brian's right. Staying away from Star Wars on that back
Oh.
end.
Yeah, good point.
It's gonna be a monster,
Well, they'd
Yeah.
be competing with themselves too.
a romantic
Yeah.
monster.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I guess we'll move on to my number 8. My number 8 is Glass.
Now I'm interested for the rest of the episode to see what went above that, because I thought you were pretty into this, so I'm curious to know what beat it.
A lot of them are obvious. I don't know if there's going to be any like spoilers that are above that you're going to be like, oh, okay, I don't understand why that's there. But
All right.
yeah, I think Split surprised me. Josh was hyping Split for me for a while, so I finally sat down and watched that, and actually really enjoyed that, and liked the way that connected to the Unbreakable universe and how that came about. And the trailer for Glass looks awesome, so I'm in an age where this Marvel MCU is taking over everything, to see a different take on a superhero movie like Unbreakable, if it was released now, I think would stand out a lot more than when it came out in 2000 or 2001, whenever that was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to revisit that universe now, being in the heyday of superhero movies, I think is going to be a really nice juxtaposition and could be really, really cool. So because we've been dealing with the MCU for so long, this is the movie that is probably going to make a lot of topical observations about that type of universe and these movies that are out now.
It very well could, yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm curious, and everything looks interesting to me. And having just the trailer, having the 3 of them all together on screen, between James McAvoy, Bruce Willis, and Samuel L. Jackson together, I'm sold. So,
which is probably the only way you were ever going to get those 3 people in a movie together. Which I'm glad for, don't get me wrong, but under what other circumstance, especially like McAvoy's kind of the wild card, because the other 2 have obviously acted together before, but like so many years later, even putting Willis and Samuel L. Jackson back together in any other context would have probably been difficult.
Yeah.
I remember
I
seeing like Glass or Unbreakable in the theater.
Really?
It was amazing. I had no idea until Glass came into, when I was looking up movies this year, that there was a sequel. So, shame on me. I had no idea that there was a sequel to Unbreakable.
Did you see Split?
No, I did not.
Okay. I would recommend seeing Split before you see Glass.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not going to make any sense if you don't.
Agreed.
Okay.
Because I don't know how much because McAvoy's character is from Split.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much they're going to explain to you about his character in Glass.
I'm sure you get a little, but not much.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a recap.
So think of Split as like the origin story for his character.
Yeah.
And are
for
all
Glass.
3 of them M. Night movies?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think, Brian, does Glass come out in January?
I want to say January. I made the mistake of not writing down any release dates for the movies that I put on my list, so I have to look them all up every time we talk about them.
Well, that was the short note I made for myself, but it
January 18th.
oh, okay. So yeah, it's coming up
very soon.
coming up quick, Paula. Actually, I know Brian does. We might also have Split if you need to get your hands on it soon.
Yes, please.
But also, like, I think Split came out in January of 2017, and I think that was an excellent spot for it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't get run over by the Halloween season. It didn't get swallowed and ignored in the November, December holiday movies. It didn't get lost in the, rush now that everything is becoming, summer movie season starts in March now.
Yeah.
So
So-
Split didn't come out till 2017.
Yes.
And so Glass is coming out in 2019. How long ago was Unbreakable? I feel like that was such a long time ago.
I think it was 2000.
Yeah.
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 No wonder it wasn't on my radar. I just maybe didn't associate them.
A lot of
Split
people
wasn't marketed as a sequel to Unbreakable.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't
No.
you didn't know about that until the very, very, very end. Like, wasn't it like a
It's basically like a
So
stinger.
yeah,
scene.
spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Split, but it is
Okay.
the very end of that movie. It opens you up and says, "Yes, we are tied into this Unbreakable universe."
Yeah.
Which is the
Okay.
only thing that really does it. There's not even like
Yeah.
subtle hints along the way. Like
No.
you take out that 45
That-
seconds and it's just a movie.
that was the M. Night Shyamalan twist in there. Not to spoil
Yes.
that for
Yeah,
you.
it kinda was.
No, that's okay.
Because
No,
it didn't
I don't
really
like
have
surprises,
that
so that's fine.
normal M. Night Shyamalan twist that you get at the end of a movie, but then that comes in and you're like, oh, yes,
Mm-hmm.
there is one. Okay. So,
Okay.
You're gonna have a lot of homework by the time this is done.
Yeah.
My God.
Paula. All right, so we'll bring it around to Mike for his number 7.
my number 7 is Captain Marvel. For obvious reasons, Captain Marvel, we've seen the trailers. It looks amazing.
Some of us have not.
Won't mention what we see in the trailers. I'll keep it clean for Josh on that. For obvious reasons, though, we get to, meet Captain Marvel, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. Spoiler, it's Brie Larson. I don't know if you knew that yet.
You just tiptoe, okay?
Josh is not in the mood to be fucked with right now.
So we're gonna get to see how Captain Marvel ties into this universe. We're gonna get to see, where that pager came from at the end of Avengers. We're gonna get all kinds of juicy information, and from the trailer, it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I feel like I can't talk as much about it as I want to. So I'm gonna
We're
leave
going
it
to
at
tiptoe
that.
around the Avengers trailer and stuff too. Whenever we get to that movie.
Oh, even more so.
Is it tiptoeing around it to say there's nothing to tiptoe around?
I think he knows that, but he still didn't watch the trailer.
Okay.
So I have a question about Captain Marvel's directors. Like, plural.
Mhm.
There's 2 of them. Never
Correct.
heard of them before.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
Nope.
I think we've talked about that before.
Okay.
Did we ever talk about what they've done before? Because I didn't look that up.
I think we did whenever we first talked about when they were announced as directors,
Right.
and the movie started moving forward. But looking at their back catalog, I don't think there was anything there that stood out to me that I should know or sounded
Interesting.
familiar.
I think the best thing that they might be known for, because it's like a co-writer, co-director team, and they've done multiple things like that. I think the most easy standout thing that they might be known for is Half Nelson, which was a Ryan Gosling movie from 2006. He was nominated for lead actor for that. But even then, I know
so
like that.
I know that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's either like you know that or you don't. But out of anything like really stand out, that would probably be it. And I think I brought this up, at that discussion that they also their last feature that they made before this in 2015 is a movie called Mississippi Grind with Ryan Reynolds and what's his name, Ben Mendelsohn.
Uh-huh.
Ben Mendelsohn is now in Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
So I
Interesting.
did actually see that before I even knew about their connection to this. And I
Yeah.
actually really enjoyed that movie. So I as far as like coming from the creators, I think it's in pretty good hands. I'll be interested to see what they do.
Yeah.
I'm just a little concerned. This is like Marvel's Wonder Woman, so like they're banking on it to be like their version of their competition for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Wonder Woman definitely set the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and every time we've said DC sets a bar, Marvel just kind of looks at it and, I don't know, gently steps over the ankle-high bar. So, I don't think it'll be very surprising if this is much better than Wonder Woman was. It wouldn't shock me if it was. It wouldn't shock me if it wasn't. It could go either way, because you're dealing with... The reception on it could be a bit of a mixed bag, because you're dealing with the Kree, and you're dealing with a lot of things that people have been lightly introduced to in Guardians, and now you're gonna get much more in-depth into the world of that.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how they do with it, but it's Marvel. They haven't really had many major missteps, and even the missteps have still been okay.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with them. So, yeah, as much as we sort of can't talk about this one.
Yeah, like I want to, but
yeah, it's safe to say I think it's going to make a lot of people's other show up on other people's lists as well. It's a little bit higher on mine.
Truth.
I don't know. Anything else we can generally add to this, or should we go to Josh's number 7? Josh's number 7 it is. Josh, what do you got for your 7?
Well, we only have one half of the argumentative duo here to really crack this egg open, but my number 7 is Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yes.
As I think we talked about, I think this was one of our trailer talks a couple months ago when it was released. I just reiterate, like, I really enjoyed the 2014 Godzilla. There's parts of it that I thought could have been strengthened. But overall, for like a rehash and re-entry of Godzilla onto the big screen and to kind of create something wider, I was already waiting for a sequel by the end of that movie. It definitely, after one viewing, said, yes, I would absolutely like to see a continuation of this. And they might have actually got it done sooner if they weren't planning the whole Kong Godzilla universe thing that they're trying to do.
Suck it, Ian.
So, I mean, this might have been a 2016 or 2017 movie if they weren't doing Kong in between to get.
Well, the other thing I remember too is that right after the first Godzilla came out and Gareth Edwards started getting all the recognition for that was right around the time he got signed on to do Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Legendary was waiting for him to finish Rogue One. He was originally tapped to do the sequel.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if Rogue One took too long, if he got too stuck on that, or decided to opt out and not just jump into another movie after doing Godzilla and then Rogue One and then trying to come back to Godzilla. But it took them a little bit before they hired somebody else to direct this. So that might have production delays a little bit to push this that far out.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember looking at this a couple weeks ago, and I'll just run through it real quick. So the person that was then hired to replace him, I guess you'd say replace, as a director, and who is one of the main co-writers, is a gentleman named Michael Dougherty. Here are his writing credits in the past.
I feel like we went over this before.
We might have. I don't know. It doesn't, it's not coming into my head, but I'll do it real quick. He wrote X-Men.
No, I need the refresher. Yeah, go ahead.
He wrote X-Men 2.
Okay.
He wrote Superman Returns. He wrote a Halloween, an anthology Halloween movie called Trick or Treat, which is, in some circles, it's kind of like a cult favorite. It's from 2007. People have been wanting a sequel to that for 10 years. If anyone saw the 2015 Krampus movie with Adam Scott,
You know it.
we actually did. He wrote that. He wrote X-Men Apocalypse. And he's listed as a co-screenwriter on this, but he has been tapped to be the director of this. So it's definitely a mix mash of a resume.
I feel like that's what I remember talking about. He's had as many hits as he has duds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were definitely
and on his
on a
resume.
wavelength there going.
And in a
Up and
lot of
down.
different genres. I mean, he's been in
Yeah.
two different comic book universes as a writer. He's been more in the sort of horror realm as a director. He actually directed Trick or Treat and Krampus. But yeah, I guarantee this is a huge bump up in terms of budget and responsibility and all that. So, I mean, what I saw from the trailer, you would never know that. You would never think, oh yeah, the guy that made Krampus obviously made Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair
So,
enough.
not to get too far ahead, but this is actually my number 7 too.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it's Josh, you were wondering what got above Glass. I think this helped that we just got a new trailer for this week.
Okay.
I did
so I
not
think-
see that yet. I won't watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of monster mayhem, which is what I want from this movie. I don't even
Oh,
care
yeah.
if the plot doesn't make sense. I just want to see these monsters fight.
Yes.
And the trailer has satisfied that itch for right now, so I'm excited to see where this movie goes.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know me. I'm into the giant monsters. I'm into the kaiju. I'm into all that stuff. And this is just going to be amazing. It's higher on my list.
Oh,
Talk
wow.
about
Okay.
that when
I actually
time
wasn't
comes.
sure if it was going to make anyone's at all. I didn't know what everyone's feelings were on this
It's
based on other
obviously
stuff.
my number one. It's obviously number one here. Spoiler.
To me, like, as somebody who even liked the old Godzilla movies, they you see this trailer, you see the first trailer, you see Rodan, you see Mothra, and you see King Ghidorah show up, and it's just a holy shit moment. They're going that route again. They've told this story before. Let's see what they do with it this time. And yeah, the old movies were shit, but it was it's that same thing with like B horror movies that you watch them because they're ridiculously bad. But it's still just funny to watch what they thought they could get away with. And now we're getting to see what it's like when they take those ideas and they turn them into something that actually looks realistic. Like, what if there was this giant skyscraper-sized monster? What would it really look like, as opposed to a fucking puppet being drawn across a cardboard city?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's just, childhood dreams that were broken, fuck you, Matthew Broderick, coming true today. So, yes. I am.
Paula, you were joking
very
about it, but have you
excited.
watched any other Godzilla movies or anything?
I have not seen a Godzilla movie ever.
Okay.
Or
Just trying to figure out where you stand on all this.
yeah, not really.
Fair enough.
Godzilla fan.
Not into the big monsters fighting?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Yeah. But thanks for asking.
Sure.
Appreciated.
All right, so we'll bring it around to your number 7 then,
Oh,
Paula.
I'm so glad you asked. It is the Lego Movie 2. The second part.
I'm kind of surprised that's not higher on your list.
Yeah, there's
I
a
know.
lot of great movies, and I'm just it kind of got pushed to the bottom. Not that I'm there's just too many good things at the beginning. So the last movie that came out from Lego was Ninjago, and it was not good. Kind of flop. No one wants to talk about it. So they definitely need something, and it's the Lego Movie 2. Josh, here's your Elizabeth Banks. She has a starring role.
Yeah, that's
She's
what I
Wild
figured.
Style, otherwise known as Lucy. Chris Pratt is back as Emmett, the special. Margot Robbie's doing Harley Quinn. Channing Tatum is coming back as Superman. My favorite, Will Arnett, is coming back as Batman. And Tiffany Haddish is a new character. So,
Oh, jeez.
yeah. It kind of
Why do
has...
I feel like she's in everything now?
She kind
I feel like Tiffany Haddish shows up in everything.
It's her time to shine.
Yeah.
I guess.
She's rolling with it. So it has they're going to outer space. Yeah, and the wild style character gets kidnapped, and Emmett has to go rescue her, of course. So, but she's pretty badass in both movies. So, that comes out in February, actually. So it's gonna be here in 2 months, and I'm very
February's
excited.
loaded.
And then after
Like,
you
I don't know
see
if I
it,
realized how much stuff is in February.
it's happy Valentine's Day to me.
Well, I think
After you see it, you go down to your local Lego store and you build everything that goes along with the movie. Because there's like 30 new sets coming out. So
Paul, are you going to be taking your Legos into the movie with you?
probably. That's what I did when I was a little girl and I saw Little Mermaid. Like, I couldn't go in without having the doll with me. So probably take a Lego figure with me. That's how I
Nice.
roll.
Is it gonna be Lego figure you, or are you gonna take like Emmett or Lucy or someone into the
I'll
movie
probably take Mini Paula.
with you? Okay,
Yeah.
it's a safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they're sticking with the February time frame because I think that's when the first one was released.
I think so too.
And in
And-
our
and
many
Batman.
discussions, yeah, that's true. Like our many discussions that we have about these calendars and whatnot, like February over the last 4 or 5 years has found a hotspot with certain things. I think Lego was a good choice. 2014, I think that was actually the same year that the first Kingsman came out in February too.
Ooh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think last year was it 2017 was John Wick 2, 2016 was Deadpool.
Yeah.
Nothing in 2015 is jumping out in memory strongly yet. Doesn't mean there wasn't something. But, like, we're going to get to something later that had a prior February release that is now the next chapter of it is being released as like a summer movie. And I don't like that because I think it works really well in the winter. So I'm glad that Lego said, hey, you know what worked well? Putting it out in February. Let's do that again.
The trailer's
Not
kinda
all
dark,
studios
too.
are dumb.
I'm sorry, what was that, Paula?
Oh, I was going to say the trailer looks kind of dark at the beginning, too. It kind of has like a Mad Max feel to it.
Oh, you're
Like-
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Bricksburg is kind of like in this desolate kind of arid way. But Emmett is so positive and happy about the whole thing, so you can't not but love him.
Everything truly is awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for this too. It didn't make my list.
I'm sorry,
only
what now?
because,
What
Yeah,
did you- no?
I know.
I'm sorry?
It did not. It did
Okay.
not.
Brian, was
We can
that
still
10?
be
Again-
Was that 10B?
Yeah, 10B, 10C, all these other ones are all right around there. There's too much other stuff. It's stuff I want to see that I had on my list, but the more I kept adding stuff that I really wanted to see, it just kept pushing stuff down. So it did
Oh, sure.
not make
Put
my list. But
Godzilla
I'm-
on there, but throw off the Lego movie. I see how it goes.
I know.
Okay. Priorities, I get it.
Anybody else? Did it make anybody else's list, or are you going to get shit
Right?
from Paula too?
Did it make anybody else's list?
No spoilers.
I do not. Yeah, I do not reveal things ahead of time.
Okay, good to know.
All right, be prepared to yell at them later, Paula.
Totally.
All right, we talked about my number 7. My number 7 was Godzilla. So we'll bring it back around to Mike for number 6.
So from everything is awesome to everything is not quite so awesome with It Chapter 2. The first movie was so fantastically done. And moving forward, now we get the same characters as adults, as expected. They cast Jessica Chastain to play Beverly, Bill Hader to play Richie, and James McAvoy to play Bill. Of course, Bill Skarsgård back as Pennywise. And I couldn't be happier with the top billing on the casting. It's fantastic. It looks great. And they're taking this movie to another level, hopefully, this time, just like they did the first time. I don't know. It's hard for me to say enough about how good the first one was and how excited that makes me to watch the next one.
How did it do at the box office, the first one?
very well for a
insanely
horror
well.
movie. Yeah, for a horror movie, incredibly good.
It made all the money. Like, for real, I think
If
it's like
I want to
top
say
grossing horror movie ever.
Yeah, it was almost $500 million or more than $500 million.
I think it did like Deadpool money. It did
$700 million is what it
yeah.
did.
Wow.
Like it
So
either Deadpool might still be on top at number 1 R rated. Or no, actually I think Passion of the Christ is. But
yeah,
yeah, it either surpassed Deadpool slightly or it's like just a shy number 3, but it's definitely like top horror grossing movie ever. It was massive.
I feel like I remember when we were talking about Deadpool numbers a couple podcasts ago, it was somewhere in the 850 million range. So I don't think it quite hit, or like I don't think got quite as close to Deadpool, but yeah, it's up there.
True, but even at that, as far as horror movies go,
Yeah. I'm
it's
not trying to sell
probably
it short
double.
by any means.
That's impressive.
the next movie. And the reason for it is simple. Like, a lot of people really liked the old It. A lot of people liked Tim Curry, and they enjoyed that, but it just kind of came up short in a lot of ways because it was made for TV. And it wasn't the real story. It wasn't the whole story. Even this was not Stephen King's whole story, because parts of Stephen King's whole story are so reprehensible that they can't even be put into movies.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Yes, no, that was a great call not to include that. We're not going to talk about what the scene they did include is, but not putting it in, good call.
Yep.
But this was a more faithful retelling of the story, I think, than the Tim Curry version of it. And you're also talking about Stephen King's #1 book. You're talking the #1 horror writer of our time and his #1 story. So everybody that's into horror is going to go for this. And people that aren't into horror are still drawn to it because it's a phenomenon as far as a horror popularity goes. I know you're not. But I'm saying people generally not drawn to horror movies. People who generally, they don't mind them, but they're not going to the theater for horror movies.
Okay, that's a better description. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will go for it, but they're not going to go for Happy Death Day to You.
Fair enough.
People who love horror go for Happy Death Day to You, but not your average person.
See, the only part I would, not that I would say I disagree, but I would amend is the idea that the reason that this It remake did so well was because people had an affinity for the prior version. I'd say that's of a small minority, like maybe 50%, but like 40. I think it looked so effed up that it looked so like I don't. Given the number of people that we saw come to the theater every day, week in and week out, and that movie was in theaters for a while. It sustained. And I guarantee they were not people who were Stephen King fans, who knew that this, like, to them, this was probably something 100% brand new. They knew nothing about it other than what they had seen.
Right, but it's still a known quantity. It's still something they've heard of. It's something that
I think
maybe
they've
never watched before.
To getting in, but I wouldn't be shocked if at least half the people that went to see it literally had no idea that it was ever a thing before. But the marketing for it was so out of left field, and they're like, what is this weird effed up thing with this clown? Oh my god, this looks so strange, let's go.
It could be. I still feel like it is more well known than I think you're giving it credit for.
Potentially.
I feel like I mean, yeah, as far as movies go, I had a rather depraved childhood, and I knew about it from the time. I can't remember a time when I didn't. You know what I mean? I can't remember an age at which I learned about it. I mean, I was reading Stephen King novels in grade school. I wasn't, I was not shielded from any of this kind of thing. But I feel like it was always something big. It was, it was the big story from Stephen King that it's always been a big deal. And I feel like more people know that as a horror film and, are aware of it as a quality piece of horror than you would expect. People go in knowing that it's Stephen King, expecting quality. People don't show up to Friday the 13th expecting quality, so they just watch it at home. But when they're expecting something that's scary, but also Stephen King and an amazing story, regardless of the horror, they're there.
Touche.
Because this is what I'll tell you, Brian, about it. If you take out the horror, it is still a good story.
Okay.
It's hard to explain. You can't take out the horror. But if it's still a coming of age tale for these kids. And it still works as a coming of age tale if they're imagining all of it.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, at this point I'll just take your word for it.
Yeah, so there's
no
way in hell there's no reason he's ever going to watch it anyway, but...
No, there's no way that he shouldn't. But...
he shouldn't.
I mean, come on. The clown waves a severed arm at kids. Like, it's not... like to wave, like to be creepy and wave at them. It's not for Brian.
Paula, what was your favorite part of it?
Funny you should ask. I actually did read the book when I was a kid. And I feel like I remember watching the TV show, the TV movie, but I don't know. I just didn't have a desire to see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the book at all. So I guess I was less sensitive as a teenager or teenager than I am now. Now I'm squeamish.
If you read the book, and there's one part of that book that should remain with you that thankfully they left out.
Yes.
Yeah, I went through a Stephen King phase. I think every good reader should. Read him.
Oh, Stephen King tells amazing stories,
Yeah,
even if he's depraved and crazy sometimes.
But, as it came along in the movie theaters, it's like, I really don't have a desire to see that. But, it might be wrong on my end, because like you were saying, it's still a good story. It's still a great story. Even though it falls under the horror genre, it's still a good movie.
Yeah, if you can deal with a few intense moments of gore, the story for it is incredible. You just have to deal with those few intense moments along the way. Because if you can't deal with those, they're not going anywhere. They're part of the story. And some people can't. And that's okay.
Alright, so anything else for it? Because I have nothing to add.
That's it.
Alright, do we want to go to Josh's number 6?
Sure. So, we had a preliminary conversation before we started recording, that there were several projects that Brian and I were aware of, but we didn't really put into consideration for this episode because, for instance, maybe like the release dates weren't kind of made even semi-official by the studio making it or something, and so we didn't want to get burned by including it, and then it actually turns out that it's not coming out until like 2023. I completely ignored that own rule for this one. This actually doesn't even have an official title yet, but there's no way I won't see it no matter when it comes out. I think everything is pointing to a fall 19 release sometime in October perhaps, which is interesting because it's not a horror movie, has nothing to do with Halloween. It is the Tom Hanks Mr. Rogers movie.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
After seeing the Won't You Be My Neighbor documentary, especially, I mean, I was probably you tell me Tom Hanks playing Fred Rogers, I'm goddamn in the bag already. But especially after seeing that documentary, I actually have quite a thirst, quite a desire for this film. Like, I would absolutely want to see more perspective about this guy's life and the people around him and what they created and what they did. Any more insight that they want to give me and I get to watch Tom Hanks do that, I mean, that's only icing on the cake.
Did you see him in Saving Mr. Banks?
Yes,
Oh my gosh, he was so good.
he was.
He can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of a role that Tom Hanks has had where I was like, boy, he did shitty. I was like, I don't have that in my, it's not anywhere. So
Because it doesn't exist.
yeah.
I mean, you go back even to like his more goofy stuff. Like it's been so long since Tom Hanks has really, in all honesty, done like a comedy. But you go back to even Splash and Big and the Burbs. I mean, any of those from like the 80s, especially. He just nails everything.
Yeah.
One of my favorites that often gets overlooked by a lot of people, not many have seen it again or watched it the first time because it was not as well known as The Terminal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good
I was
one.
going to say that
And-
one. Yeah.
He is so great in transforming himself at a time when he was the most known actor there was. He's able to transform himself into that character. And
Yeah. Castaway.
it's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So good.
Terminal, I think I caught on TV, and that's become sort of like a guilty pleasure movie of mine. Anytime I see it on TV, I have to sit and watch it.
Yeah. You get early performances in that movie. Not just, like, Tom Hanks is amazing, but then you get, like, a really early shot from Diego Luna, from Zoe Saldana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, you get a couple of these people that you just, at the time, were really nobody. But you get them there, too, and if you haven't watched it, it's a good time to go back to it.
Is that Spielberg, too? Didn't Spielberg direct that?
Yes.
I can't remember if it felt like him or Zemeckis. I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah, that was Spielberg, and you get a Stanley Tucci villain, which is
Oh, yeah.
always great.
As villainous as like an asshole could be.
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, but it's just one of those things where you take that role and you see what he can do, and he can transform himself into these people, and yeah, cannot wait to see him as Mr. Rogers. That's going to be a fantastic experience, one way or the other.
So that's supposed to come out in 2019?
As far as initial things are all saying yes, because I mean they've been filming it. I mean, you know that they've been filming it around the city
Right.
recently, so I can't imagine it's going to be very effects heavy or anything like that would cause like a massive production delay. So once they get principal photography done, I would assume then you do your location shooting, you go back somewhere else, you do your soundstage shooting if it's not in the same place, if those facilities aren't available. And then really it's just like picking out what time of year they feel is best to release it. So like I said, I think the soft rumors are pointing toward like a September or October, like early October release in 2019. Again, not set in stone, but that's why I laid that out at the beginning, because that could change and I could be completely wrong. But that's the one I'll take the gamble on, because no matter when that comes out, they will be getting my money.
Fair enough.
Awesome.
We'll go to Paula's number 6.
Okay. It's going to be Wonder Woman, 1984. Patty Jenkins comes back to direct. It's coming out in November. I think that's why it's a little lower on my list, because I totally enjoyed the very first Wonder Woman. And Kristen Wiig is going to be our villain. There's no real plot line yet. Nothing on the plot. But Kristen, help me, I'm poor Wig, is going to be Cheetah. So I'm very much, and apparently Chris Pine's coming back. I don't know if they're like gonna age him, or it's gonna be like
Flashbacks,
Captain
maybe?
America and Peggy kind of thing, or how they're going to take that angle. I'm very excited.
I really hope they don't do that, because that would feel so just taken right from Marvel. Like, it would feel just like I hope it's flashbacks, or he's not helpless and dying at the time.
Yeah.
But it's also, remember, we're going back to 1984, so he's not necessarily going to be old and helpless. He'd be in his 60s, 70s.
Right.
He wouldn't be like Peggy, who was in her 90s.
Survived,
No, he'd be, if he
whatever.
If he was in his 20s during World War II, in the
World
80s,
War
he'd
One.
be... Oh, right. Never mind. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit
Never
earlier.
mind.
That's yeah.
I got confused. Yeah, that was
No,
World War One for Wonder Woman.
One of the best ideas I heard on a podcast a couple of months ago, once it was revealed that he was going to be in this again, was that this would be an amazing way to introduce Martian Manhunter to the cinematic world.
Okay.
And there's some role that he's playing, but like, at least temporarily, for a period of the film, he could say, for Diana, hey, to make this more palatable for you effectively, I can take on a form that comforts you, that you're familiar with, etc. And he has that shape-shifting ability.
Yeah.
And it could be, I look like Steve Trevor. Is that easier for you?
Got it.
Don't know if
See, I
that
feel
would
like
happen.
a lot of it. I could even see them spinning it like where he's just a figment of her imagination.
Yeah.
He's the casualty of war for her that set her on her adventure, so it would not surprise me if he's still just like in the back of her mind, somewhat not haunting her, but the constant reminder of what happened back then and what she stands for and
Love.
Yeah.
yeah. And Paula, not to burst your bubble, but Wonder Woman got pushed to 2020.
No, it didn't. Did it
'Cause it was-
really?
Supposed to be in December, and then Star Wars moved to December, and Wonder Woman said, we don't want anything to do with that, and they pushed it to June of 2020.
I'm hurting now. I'm in pain.
So you almost get a freebie if you want to
Okay.
add another movie. We can let you sub something else in.
Well, my next one was gonna be Captain Marvel, so I can throw Captain Marvel and number 6, and I can.
Did you have anything that was like your number
Add something
11
later.
Well,
that we can just like kind of bump through and go back and talk about?
We can always come back to you. We don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to come up with a decision right now.
yeah, no, we'll just skip that one then.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put How to Train Your Dragon in that spot.
Because for a
Okay.
second there, I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, I didn't put Wonder Woman on my list, so I wanted to
I
look
did
and
the
make
same
sure.
thing.
Damn it!
As soon
And
as
they did move
as
it.
soon as you said that, Paula, yeah, I immediately hit the Google and I'm like, wait a minute, how did this miss me?
Oh,
Yeah.
see, whenever I pulled it up, it came up on 2019 as like November the 1st release. So
And if they had gone with that, I actually think it would have been a fine decision instead of bumping it forward to the next year. Just
mhm.
push it back. Like, if they've already been filming for so long, like, is there really no reason that they couldn't have gotten it out like 6 or 7 weeks earlier than originally planned? I think that would be better.
I think
I'm worried that there's going to be too far of a time gap between, like, will Wonder Woman have lost some of its steam over a 3-year gap between movies where something like Captain Marvel can fill the vacuum for a little bit, and
Right.
other
Yeah.
strong female movies, like, are they not going to have lightning in a bottle again like they did with the first one because there's too long in between?
My biggest concern with pushing it back is that's just a further date that they push back to before they scrap this whole DCEU thing they have now and reboot it with somebody else in charge and make something better.
Good point.
Like, the further they push back these things, it's no offense to Wonder Woman, she's the shining star of what they have. It's just the rest of what they have is not
Polishing a turd.
worth it. Yeah, it's you have Wonder Woman and a bunch of shit, and that's not good. And rebuilding the universe around Wonder Woman is an idea, but it's something where they're going to have people accept that what they knew before is no longer true, and this is now Superman, and this is his story, and this is now this and that. They really are straggling at this point with the DCEU, and I don't know what they're going to do with it in the long term, but the more they push stuff out is the longer we have to deal with characters that we love not getting the movies they deserve.
So we shouldn't expect Joker to be coming up on your list later?
No.
I had a discussion actually with Eric recently about myself and another friend of his who neither one of us can even remotely stand Joaquin Phoenix. For reasons I cannot describe. I can't look at him and not want to punch him in the face. Just from looking at him. I just look at him, I'm like, I just want to punch you in the face. I can't watch this man act. I just can't take it. And I don't know why. So, no, Joker will not be on my list.
I think they should market the Joker as 2019's Venom.
Yeah.
Don't say that, because it'll end up making like $800 million.
I know. We don't...
Josh, coming back to the release date, we were talking about the change and stuff.
Okay.
The first Wonder Woman was June 2nd, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
This one moved to June 5th, 2020. So they're aiming for the same type of release date. If they just, I don't know if they're thinking they just had success the first time, so around that time again they can still hit it. But I still agree with you guys. I think moving away from these summer release dates is the smarter move. Whether moving it up or even just putting it into even if this released alongside Captain Marvel, or like 2 weeks before Captain Marvel, that would be a kick in the teeth for Marvel.
Yeah.
Would it?
I think you're going to get that first 2 weeks for Wonder Woman really well. Once Captain Marvel hits, 2 weeks into Wonder Woman's release, you might see, like, Captain Marvel might end up making more that opening weekend, but I think that could take a big chunk out of what Captain Marvel would do if it's in March by itself without anything really competing against it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a chunk out of it, but I mean, isn't it even more of a slap in the face to DC that a much lesser, extremely lesser known superhero would outperform Wonder Woman for them at the box office?
That's the thing.
I think they would assume
DC
that it would,
knows
though.
I think DC knows that they have a hit with Wonder Woman. They're betting hard on Wonder Woman. So I think they would actually take that bet with putting Wonder Woman, who everyone knows from last year that made a really good movie that made a shit ton of money, versus a somewhat unknown character for the MCU, but people want to see it just because it's the MCU.
I could see that if they had to go close together, you figure Wonder Woman has the built-in name recognition, and like a lot of movies, there are people who went to see Wonder Woman who could not give two shits about comic book movies or anything else, but it's a strong female lead and they know that name. So there's the core audience that are going to go see both movies no matter what. But there's a big, and I would venture to guess, Paula especially, tell me if you think I'm incorrect here. I think there's a big female contingent that would much more easily be persuaded to go see a sequel to Wonder Woman as opposed to Captain Marvel, who they know nothing about, is not a household name. But they already have a recent movie. They know Gal Gadot is an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And so if those were 2 weeks apart and they decide I'm only going to go see, well, let's put it this way. Since there is no Wonder Woman for another year and a half, now you do have a vacuum. So maybe some of those people are now going to go see Captain Marvel who really wouldn't otherwise care, because you're filling the void left in the market for those people. But put up against each other, Captain Marvel is already going to make a lot of money. The only thing Wonder Woman would do is siphon off a certain percentage of the certain female audience who would go see Wonder Woman over Marvel very easily, but DC hasn't given them something in that market to fill.
I'm even thinking kind of like... Oh, sorry, Paula.
No, there's like you were saying, Josh, there's a huge female fan base for this. We're talking about a whole bunch of women Amazons living on an island. Yes. There's a huge female empowerment movement with this movie. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely amazing. And that's why we're all waiting for the next one.
I'm even thinking just lowest common denominator. If someone goes to the theater and just looks at the titles, Wonder Woman is your female-led superhero. Captain Marvel, there's nothing in that title that says this is a female-led superhero movie.
True.
I agree. I'm just pointing out that there's, I think, a certain number of people that have seen both Batman vs. Superman and Justice League and Wonder Woman and have said, I don't know if I want to put, they're going to be really hesitant.
The numbers, the box office returns for Wonder Woman proves that there are people that saw neither of those movies and went straight to Wonder Woman.
True.
Yeah. Good point.
And if all those people show up for the sequel, regardless of when it's released, it's going to make a shit ton of money.
Like I said, I hope it carries its momentum. If it's going to be,
I feel like
that
sequels,
much
the
further.
direct sequel after a really big hit, traditionally makes more money than the first one. Can they sustain that for a trilogy and make the third movie have more money than the sequel? That's where it starts to go downhill. But the sequel always seems like it makes more than the first one. That's where my head's at anyway. But again, this is all hypothetical because they're 3-4 months apart. Or no, they're not even.
Year,
they're like 16 months apart.
I'm still thinking it was 2019. You're right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that argument's kind of mute. We just gotta see how it plays. I don't even know. Of course, that it takes some digging to see what's coming out in 2020 around Wonder Woman, but
we don't know what Marvel's putting out yet. So
yeah. So I'm sure Wonder Woman will be safe where it's at. I think it's gonna be fine. Yeah, all right, so we got sort of sidetracked on that one. I guess we'll move on to my number 6, which we already talked about, was Spider-Man Far From Home. So we already covered that one. All right, so we've rounded out the 6s. That brings us back to Mike for number 5.
My number 5 was Godzilla King of Monsters.
Okay.
So, I will...
Anything to add for that, or are you good?
We talked about it. I'll pass it along to Josh.
Mike, you said, going back to that, you said you hadn't seen the trailer for that yet? The newest one?
Not the newest one, no. I do want to check that out. Probably
I'll be curious
immediately at the end of the show. I'll probably be watching that because I wasn't aware a new one had come out.
Okay.
It was, I would say it was within the last 4 days, maybe?
Yeah, something like
week
that.
at the most.
Okay.
It was definitely sometime earlier this week, so 2 or 3 days ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Josh, number 5 from you.
I'm going to kick the baton down further, too, because my number 5 is the Lego Movie 2, the second part.
Yeah!
See, I'm in Paula's good graces.
Yeah.
You're my favorite, Josh.
I'm your favorite super friend.
Favorite.
Paula, coming back to you for number 5.
Captain Marvel.
Okay. Anything to add for that one? Because I think we already talked about that.
I love that she has a mohawk there and a cat.
Fair point.
A flaming mohawk. Sorry, I needed to interject there. A flaming mohawk.
Fingers in your ear, Josh. Fingers in your ear.
It's okay.
Oh crap! I'm so sorry. He asked me to add things. I just went there. I'm so sorry.
I can not expect the world to entirely indulge me and adhere to this, so it is fine.
I'll just change my profile picture to Captain Marvel, so it'll be like, she was going to spoil it anyway. So.
Coming around to my... Paula, you and I think, have some of the... Well, at least twice now, where we've matched up the same ones. Captain Marvel is my number 5 as well.
Awesome.
So that brings us back around to Mike for number 4.
You can bring on the hate for this only being number 4. Avengers Endgame is my number 4.
I'm only shocked that it's not at the lowest number 2, because I can't. Yeah. I know what is above it, at least one. The other 2, I cannot even think.
That's the intrigue. But
the game is a
yes. So obviously,
remember, no trailer stuff.
Right? No, I'm just gonna say obviously, everybody wants to see Avengers Endgame. This is a movie that we waited so long to get to the last Avengers movie. They end that on a cliffhanger for everybody. Now we get to come into the new one, presumably with some more information from Captain Marvel of some sort of what she's going to mean for this movie. We would, at least in some way, how she's going to connect to it, because she's obviously going to connect to it. So, we're going to get the culmination of all of this. And I think the only reason that this is not. I feel like I have to defend it not being higher on my list at this point.
You do.
You're on trial.
I feel like the reason that this is number 4 and not number 1 or number 2. We all know what my number 1 is. We don't have to have any, illusions about
Venom
that.
2.
Yes. But this movie, I feel like I know the ending already. I don't.
Do you?
Come on, man. What, they lose again?
I'm not saying that. I still. We've talked about it before. I think there will be casualties at the end of this. I'm just.
Yeah,
I can agree with
nuances of the resolution are what I'm interested in.
Yes, exactly. The specific nuances, but I feel like I'm not going to be surprised by anything that happens.
Okay.
With or without the trailer. Yes, we saw the trailer, Josh. I'm going to tell you, you can watch this trailer safely. There's not a damn thing that's going to be spoiled for you in this trailer.
I told him that too.
I just don't. The thing that I enjoyed about all of the media blackouts that I've been trying the last couple of years is literally not having seen one image. Everything is fresh. There's not one little scene that I'm not familiar with the lighting or the look on an actor's face, what I think they're reacting to. So there's a very specific reason that I have, and it's been enjoyable thus far, but I do appreciate the honest critique of what they're showing.
Yeah, they're intentionally showing you nothing. They're showing you things that, maybe to a lesser fan would be like, oh, that, or oh, this, but to us it's like, yeah, no shit. And so, all that being said, without the trailer, with the trailer, this is still in the same slot for me, simply because of that factor that there's just not a lot of unknowns that are going to come out of this for me. Things we've known about the Marvel Universe for a long time are going to come to fruition at the end of this, and they're either going to re-sign these people or not, and probably not. We've known for a long time that if they're going to re-sign somebody, it's probably going to be Chris Hemsworth. We pretty much know Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans are done. We don't, we get these things that we know, and it's all coming to this end game with this movie. And I don't think there's going to be any shockers in there for me in any way. It's not that I don't want to see it. Obviously, it's number 4. In another year, it could be higher, but I am in a state where I'm just kind of cathartic about it, where I'm like, okay, it's going to end. We're going to get all this stuff we know we've been going to get for a long time. And I'm less excited for this than I was for the last one.
All right.
Strangely.
Because it's
don't ask me to explain why, but it's just how I feel. So.
Well, yeah, it's going to make my list. A little bit higher than yours. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to talk about it, so. But, yeah, I think it's higher on my list, I think, just being the culmination, sort of like what you said, the culmination of 10 years worth of stuff that has been building to this moment, regardless of whether or not we sort of know the outcome or not. Because I don't think it can end on a complete downer. There's going to be some resolution where this ties off, for the most part, fairly neatly. But it's still a journey that I've been on for 10 years, and god damn it, I'm excited to see how it ends.
I agree.
Truth.
Josh and Paul, I don't know if you guys want to add anything.
The trailer angered me because I like to see more, but I like
that's what I appreciated about the trailer. I like not seeing anything.
I like when they keep it.
So I don't like surprises. You guys know that about me. So the more information, the merrier. So no, it left me a little wanting, but that's just me personally.
Mike, just moving forward, are you going to watch any more trailers?
No.
Okay, so Paula, you're on your own. Any other trailers that come out? I think the three of us are avoiding from here on out, so you
Okay.
can't even come to us and say, "What about this? What does this mean?"
I watched
I will
this.
remember that.
I watched this first one, and I didn't know whether or not I spoiled it, Josh, by saying that it was titled Endgame. I didn't know if you knew that yet.
I figured the title is... I mean, the title is only going to reveal so much, and like that would be unavoidable, so...
Okay. That's the only reason I actually watched this trailer, was to see what the title was going to be. It was just like, they're going to reveal the title here, so let's see what they're going to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Endgame, and you're like, okay. Not unexpected.
True.
Josh, I don't know how much you want to add, having not seen anything from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, substantially... Like, materially, there's not a whole lot I could really reference to talk about, but, I mean, Infinity War was my number one anticipated last year. Well, for the current year, I guess, in 2018. It's been everything. It's like that they've continued to put together something that continues to build, and, you know, the resolution of the first part of the story that they laid is, I'm actually even more curious to know what this movie's about, because I knew what the first movie was about. I knew enough about Infinity Gems and the Gauntlet to know generally what it was going to be. I was actually shocked that they got through the whole arc of what they did in Infinity War. I thought all of that was going to be both movies. So I actually don't, while I could guess certain potential outcomes in the end of what will come out of Endgame, the story itself, I actually don't have any clue what the story is going to be. So I'm actually really excited to find that out.
That's something, I can relate to that too. Where Mike said we might have an idea where the outcome is, like where this movie is going to end, but how we get there is the part that's really going to interest me, because I don't know where they go from here.
To get there and what they put in between with
So I'm with you, Josh.
You're gonna get that bumper sticker made.
All right, Josh, we'll go on to your number 4.
Okay. My number 4 has already also been talked about. It is Glass.
Ooh, all right.
Split left a good enough impression on me, and given the gamut of other things coming up next year, I'm really eager to see how he puts this all together.
Good deal. Paula.
Yes.
Number 4.
Yes, so my number 4 is Toy Story 4.
Nice.
I'm glad that made someone's list, because
oh my gosh,
it's on my like immediate honorable mentions, and I didn't know if it would make anyone else's 10 proper, so I'm glad it's here.
Oh, it's my
Spoiler
number 4.
alert, it's my number 4 as well.
Oh my gosh, twinsies,
Sweet.
twinsies.
Uh,
I know.
Almost a shoe-in to be number 3 grossing movie of the year.
Yeah.
There's
Fair
a
enough.
plastic spoon, and I'm here for it. I was looking through the list of people, and it looks like Keanu Reeves is going to be in this one.
I did hear that. Yeah.
Michael Keaton is back as Ken. I love that. So Barbie and Ken are going to be back. Tony Hale is in it, so I wonder if he is the spoon with the existential crisis. So, yeah. And then there was a trailer. We saw the one with like the Joni Mitchell song, but there was also another trailer that had Key and Peele in it.
Yes.
Yeah, they were.
I loved that one.
That was amazing. There was like a little like hang tag sticking out of his head, where he would like plastic tag where he would hook onto the wall, which I thought was hilarious. Like the detail was just amazing. But there, yeah, that was a fun trailer too. So yes, we know how the third one ended. Like we almost like lost all of our Toy Story friends. Spoiler if anyone has not seen it. I grabbed my husband's sleeve and I'm like, this is not ending this way. Like everybody had that same reaction, like, oh my god, is this really ending this way? This can't possibly be ending this way. And it didn't.
Scars so many kids with that ending.
And adults, hello. So I'm really excited.
Though.
Yeah.
And who would have thought we were getting a fourth one? As soon as it was announced, everyone was super excited about it. So yes, Toy Story 4 is coming out in June, and it is my number 4.
Yeah, the Toy Story movies are still like top tier for like animated franchises and stuff for me. I love those movies. So yeah, I'm with Paula. Whenever they announce the fourth one, I am on board. I don't care what it's about. I am there.
Mm-hmm.
Sign me up. Take my money.
Yeah.
I'm sure this one at the end of this movie will wreck me as well.
Yep.
So I'm fully expecting that. Anybody else? Toy Story 4? Nothing right
I
now?
will definitely
Okay.
be there for it. I know.
Yeah.
I think I thought that the story elements of the third one were so strong that you had not only like handing them off to a younger generation, Andy's, arc is kind of completed. It felt like it ended in a good place. And yeah, it had
Yeah.
a lot of like left turns that it took at times, and then it course corrected, but like that was on purpose. I'm a little skeptical as to how enjoyable the story of a fourth one will be. I don't know. They haven't really hit any duds so far, admittedly, and all of their animated stuff continues to do well. I was extremely happy with like The Incredibles 2, for instance. So
that was
Yeah.
so good.
so many years afterwards. So not to say that they can't come back to something and find, a good way to continue the story. I just thought that the third one had such strength to it and left off at such a logical point that I think for me, there might be a struggle to get me back in to care as much as I did about the characters as I did in the second and third ones.
Did you see
Yeah.
Inside Out, Josh?
Yes.
Did you cry?
Yeah, you asked me if I saw Inside Out.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I totally cried. So, same director. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So as soon as because I was researching a little bit because I didn't know, the cast of the director. So the same director who did Inside Out, and oh my gosh, that movie was just phenomenal. So, which gives me hopefully a little bit more inspiration to go see it. But
Okay.
That's another movie that wrecked me
oh
too.
my god, so much. Bing pong, bing pong.
Shout out to Eric Beresford because the two of him and I went to go see it in the theater, Inside Out, with a bunch of kids, and there we are at the end of the movie, bawling with all these kids in the theater, these two grown ass adults. Yeah, that was our movie going experience. All right, my number 4 was Toy Story 4. That brings us back to Mike for number 3.
Okay, I said to you guys before the show that I had, a couple of movies that could be number 1, and I feel like from 4 on down, they were all in consideration for number 1, to be completely honest. This being the next one, because I'm going to say 3 people's names to you, and if you're not wanting to go see this movie just from those 3 names, I don't know how you're into movies. But we're going to start with Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Quentin Tarantino. This is called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You put
Okay, good
those
call.
3 people together, I am going to be there. It doesn't matter what the story is, even though this is the story of some Hollywood stuntmen, and their struggle to survive in their careers during a time that stuntmen were becoming extinct because of computer-generated graphics and things along that line. They were becoming, as far as what I've read of the synopsis, that's the general idea, is that they're stuntmen struggling for work.
Well, I think that's like the front-facing part of it, but like the backdrop story is happening during the Manson murders.
Yes. Yeah, I was... Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to... Okay.
It's a Quentin Tarantino film.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what we're getting into here. It's going to be either a home run or a pop foul. Quentin Tarantino goes from Django Unchained to The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
And Django Unchained was a masterpiece, in my opinion, and The Hateful Eight was take it or leave it.
Yeah, I can see that.
So now he's coming back in this one, and I don't know, like, it to me is something where you could put any story synopsis with those three names, and I'm still going to be there. But putting it alongside the Manson murders, you know what, I'm sold. There's not a whole lot to say at this time until we see it, because it is a Tarantino movie and we don't know
Good point.
what the hell's going to happen.
There's
So,
no trailers or anything either, right? Nothing.
not as
I don't
of
remember
yet.
seeing any trailers.
No.
Not as of yet, but there will be, and this movie will be big because, again, you're putting, personally, my two favorite actors in with one of my favorite directors. And that's going to be tough to top for me.
Yeah.
But I still have two that do top it. So, yeah,
Anybody
Say
else
much
want to
more?
chime in on this? Because I got nothing for this one. I don't really know too much about it. I don't watch a lot of Tarantino films, so I can't really give an opinion too much on it.
I mean, it didn't make my 10, but it's definitely on my calendar. I'm definitely in the bag for Tarantino. I haven't seen anything of his that I haven't liked a whole lot.
Paula, anything to add?
Not a thing. No. Mike, just let me know if you like it. Because it sounds like that, when you were talking about the premise of it, it sounded really interesting. But I would like to know more about it.
we will eventually know more about it. I think it's
Yeah.
slated for late this year. Next year. Not this year, obviously.
Okay.
But I'm not certain of that. I would have to look that up.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to watch, like, undoubtedly two of some of the most memorable characters actors portraying some of the most memorable characters from his movies of the past. Brad Pitt playing the Nazi, fighting soldier from Inglourious Bastards, and Leo's role as the, slave owner from Django, kind of mashing them together in something. And off the top of my head, I can't think of a movie the two of them have ever been in before.
Not together. But to add to that pot for people that may need more, you also have Margot Robbie, Dakota Fanning, Al Pacino, Damian Lewis, and Tim Roth.
And Kurt Russell. Timothy Oliphant.
Emil Hirsch, Michael Madsen,
Tim
Luke
Roth.
Perry.
He's got his all-star typical people coming back that do a lot of his projects, plus a lot of good new faces.
Yes. And
Looks like August 9th, Mike.
August 9th. So,
That's a good slot for that. I think that, that's a good time.
yeah, and I don't know, like, for me, how can you go wrong with everything that's going on in this film? So, we shall see. About the only person that you'd expect to see there that's not in this film is Samuel Jackson.
Ironic.
So,
or Uma Thurman.
yeah.
All right, good deal. Josh, number 3.
Okay, this might be on someone else's list, but I am not entirely sure, but John Wick, Chapter 3.
Wow.
I really enjoyed the second one. I thought it was a very strong sequel outing after the first one was such a sort of a sleeper hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget, I couldn't find it off the top of my head, but whatever the subtitle was that they announced for Chapter 3 a couple of months ago that I thought was the stupidest thing in the world. Especially since you call the second one Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Or were they not calling this Chapter 3? I still thought they were.
I'd have to go back and look at the news stories. I could have sworn about 3 or 4 months ago it was in like a subtitle was announced, and it was not just simply Chapter 3. They might have changed that and backtracked without a lot of PR around it, but when you call something Chapter 2, for instance, and then you just don't continue that as you go forward.
It is called John Wick 3, Parabellum.
Parabellum, that not only, like I said, changing the dynamic of the formula you've already established is weird, but, like, why the hell would you call it something so strange?
Yeah.
They're going, alright, so A, and then 2, they're just changing that up on you. It's strange, but I don't think that's going to affect the quality of the film.
Is it like a director change or something? Is that why they changed the title? Like, added that subtitle?
No. One of the director doing this is, I believe, one of the co-directors of Chapter 2.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. He's the director of the first one.
Okay. Yeah, that makes no sense, but whatever.
Actually, I need to correct that. There were 2 directors on the first movie. One of those directors, I believe, went off and made Deadpool 2. The other guy...
And the other one did Atomic Blonde, right?
I believe so, and now he's coming back for number 3.
Okay.
I can't readily see who directed Chapter 2 was just this guy. Okay. So one guy was a co-director on the first movie. He's the sole director on Chapters 2 and 3.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it is staying together. But then that also leads to your question, was there like a director change or something? No. So I don't know why, but...
I thought that would have been an easy explanation as to why they suddenly added a weird subtitle.
Yeah. But I don't know. I remember kind of gushing over the second one when we reviewed it and doing our 2017 list. And I think these movies are very original. They're kind of keeping it fresh. It's very unapologetic in its filmmaking. It is what it is. It's kind of like Neo to me in that Keanu Reeves takes on some of these projects and just accidentally finds this very natural fit for himself. And I think he very much easily walks into this role of John Wick and it just works. So, and that's this was the one that I mentioned earlier that I believe both previous movies, Chapter 1 and 2, were both February releases. And now they've moved this one to May.
Yeah.
And we've talked about a lot of other stuff coming out in February of 2019 already, so maybe they saw that and thought it was getting a little crowded, but
they're going really close to Endgame on this one then.
Yeah. They're right in between that. They're right on the cusp of they're the week before Aladdin. You know,
that's not a good...
Yeah, May is not a good spot for this movie.
I mean, I'll be there to support it. I just hope it doesn't suffer too much from that choice. Financially.
Yeah, I love the other two. I know we've talked about the other two on numerous occasions on the show. Yes. This actually squeaked out of my top 10.
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's coming. I'm looking forward to it, but I think not having a trailer kept it from being at the forefront of my mind when making my list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still definitely looking forward to it. Paul, anything to add? Have you seen any of the John Wick movies?
Is that up your alley? No, I've never wicked. I've heard that a dog dies, so I was, I don't know how I feel about that.
Just cut the first 15 minutes.
God. But I just watched him and Sandy Bullock in the lake house, and boy, that was delightful, so... Probably,
is that more your speed for Keanu?
Probably the same kind of script, I'm sure.
Indistinguishable.
Yeah, that's more.
I'm not sure which one I'm watching.
Yeah,
I flip it on and I'm not. I have to say to myself, "Is this John Wick or The Lake House?" I have to. Takes me a minute to figure it out.
Yes, yeah. I'm more of the Hallmark movie channel Keanu Reeves.
Fair point.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to Paula. Your number 3.
My number 3 is in fact Endgame.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so that is my number 3. I'm very excited to see it. I'm very angry at the trailer. I already tried to like zoom in and pick it apart about 30 times. So yeah,
I
Every
tried that
time-
too. There's just
yeah.
not much there. There, like I slowed it down. I was looking for little snippets or anything. There's not a whole lot.
But
So,
I was never a huge Marvel, this part of Marvel. I was more of X-Men growing up than I was, Captain America and whatnot. So like it took me a while to get into this, but now that I'm here, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm really excited to see this movie. So
Well, this might lead us down a side tangent, but what do you think of the X-Men movies then, if you were more of an X-Men fan?
I love them. I haven't been watching the new ones with the younger, but anything with John McAvoy, and I love the retro X-Men movies.
Okay.
Yeah. So any of the X-Men movies, I've seen all of them coming up except for all of the new ones.
As in, like with James McAvoy and all that stuff? You haven't seen any of those?
No, the
or...
ones after that. Like I guess maybe the ones coming out with like the youthful group or the TV shows or anything like that. Like I haven't watched any of those X-Men.
Oh, like
movies,
the
but-
spin-offs, like the Runaways.
Yeah. Like
Those
anything.
ones?
And
oh,
anything.
you mean TV shows?
Yeah. And I guess whatever
Okay, okay.
movie maybe is coming up or coming out,
New
or the
Mutants?
one. Yeah, the New Mutants, and then the one where
Dark Phoenix.
yes, thank you. But any of the ones before, I've seen them all. So it took me a while to get
Okay.
into like the Marvel, but then, after I got there, I was like, yeah, this is the best thing ever. So yeah, Endgame is my number 3.
Cool. Come around to my number 3. My number 3 is Shazam.
Oh wow,
Whoa.
wasn't expecting
And-
that.
I'm not surprised
A
that
lot
it
of
made
it-
it, but that high. Wow.
A lot of it is my love for Zachary Levi, and seeing his transformation into a DC superhero is something I just, god damn it, I want to see it. And it looks like the most fun DC movie we're going to get. I mean, Aquaman looks like it's got some fun to it. Wonder Woman was fairly serious.
Yeah,
This just looks like it's going to be not stupid fun, but just
fun.
really fun. And I want to see DC take a lighter tone. I think this could be another redeeming movie for them. And I'd love to see Zachary Levi come back as this character, playing with the other, like, the idea of him and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman and even Jason Momoa's Aquaman and stuff being on screen together, and even if they bring back Henry Cavill's Superman and stuff, that's something I want to see that team up.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And just the trailer, the first trailer that I'd seen for this, I think they still only have one trailer for this. Just it really won me over. I was not sure what to expect, and that trailer I really, really enjoyed. So that's got me hyped.
It's definitely an honorable mention for me, and for the same reason that you just said. It looks like DC taking a lighter tone, which is something they really, really need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's not a failure at taking that lighter tone. I'm hoping that it's quality, that it comes out good, and that they don't try and work in that dark tone somehow.
I mean, this has a very good chance to end up on my disappointment list for 2019 if it, because it's that high on my anticipated list. If it does not live up to that expectation,
Yeah.
it could very well end up on the wrong
Zachary
list.
Levi has such an amazing personality, though.
I know.
He's probably going to be fantastic. Yeah.
I love him so much. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in. Open floor.
No, I totally forgot about it until you just said it at this moment.
Okay. Should we throw it into your vacant number 6?
Sure, I'd love that. Sounds like a perfect number 6.
Josh, anything to add for Shazam?
Not a ton. Same thing. It wasn't gonna make my cut. Because I think sort of what you said. It has too much of a potential to either surprise and entertain in like a fun, innocent yet effective way, or it could fall really badly on its face.
Yeah.
And yeah, DC, other than Wonder Woman, as we've been discussing, like DC's track record just doesn't leave me. Like, if they stopped making movies, for a while, like, I wouldn't care. Like, the fact that they are, like, I'll go and I'll try to support them, like, in a couple weeks, like, in a week or two. Like, am I going to see Aquaman? Yes. So,
Yeah.
I'll support them, but if they weren't there, would I be very sad? No.
I agree.
Fair point. I figure if I've put Independence Day Resurgence on my top 10 list before, I can
You can roll the
take
dice.
a risk with Shazam.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so we'll bring it back down to Mike for your number 2.
My number 2 is Zombieland 2. Zombieland, hands down, makes my top 3 movies of the 2000s. Came out in 2009, and it just... it did so much that you did not expect it to do going into the movie. My favorite Bill Murray cameo in any movie ever is in Zombieland. And I think it offers such a good representation of what the genre of zombies is really all about, or apocalyptic movies is really all about. It's not about zombies. It's about the people. It's about the relationships that people develop when the world falls apart and all we have left is each other. All our material needs and everything are useless to us, and the world is just open to us to be, free, even though we still have to deal with zombies. And the job that Woody Harrelson did in the first one specifically is so damn good. And the fact that, this is a sequel done right, they're coming back to something that was so popular, and they got the whole cast to sign back on, with the exception, of course, of Bill Murray, whose character is dead.
Right.
Spoilers. Spoilers, yes. So, when they come back and, at first when they announced Zombieland 2, it was like, okay, we'll see. And then they say, no, we got Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin all back. It's instantly like, okay, you have the whole main cast back. I'm 100% in, and I cannot wait.
Not just the cast, didn't they get the writers back too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
And the writers went on a few years later to make a little picture called Deadpool.
Yes. I could never tell you enough about Zombieland or how many times I have watched that movie. Honestly, there's 3 movies from that decade that I would say I've watched more than any other 3. And that is Zombieland, Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz. Those 3 movies I've watched more than any others from that era. And I just... You guys cry at Toy Story and things like that. I cry when Woody Harrelson is mourning his child. And, when Tallahassee is it's revealed that it wasn't a puppy, it was a kid. And, but just everything from the first one. I can't wait to see what the new rules that have been added to the survival book are going to be for this movie. I can't wait to see, does Columbus get over his fear of clowns in the bathroom? It's these little things about the characters that make them what they are in those movies that it's just so damn well done. And in any other year, this would be my number 1 film. But we all know what number 1 is, and unfortunately for Zombieland 2, it just comes in the wrong year to make that number 1. So, yeah.
So, my first immediate 2 thoughts are, I hate you because I should have gone first in the order, because that's my number 2 as well. and you stole my surprise thunder. I didn't know if you were going to go there or not, but I thought I'd have like the real big dark horse on the list. But the other thing is, I'm hoping, like, since they're finally coming back to it 10 years later, that they finally officially release something, whether it's like a poster or a little pamphlet, a book, something to tie into the movie that officially lists all the rules. That was the only thing I was bummed about, that I thought was so charming about the first movie.
You don't know?
What's that?
You don't have the Zombie Survival Guide by Max Brooks? That's what that movie's based on.
Well, so I have read that, but I didn't...
It was legit based off of that.
But his isn't, like, the way that he wrote it up, like, to me, it didn't as easily translate as directly, like... So
well, number 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, so you want a numbered actual full just list.
To some degree. Like, what I thought was really charming about Wedding Crashers, for instance, was during college, that movie comes out, and a lot of people then in their, dorm rooms, apartments, their first, places they live after school, they had, the Crashers rules, that they had up there. That's something, like, if they put that out for Zombieland, and here's, Tallahassee's, 40 rules, then, or I'm sorry, not Tallahassee, Columbus? Columbus's 30 or 40 rules, I would absolutely buy that and hang it up.
You know what? I would love to have just the ornaments to put around a room. The way they had, like, number 40, limber up. Like, after, like, Tallahassee tweaks his knee, and it's just, like, limber up. And you could just, like, put it on top of something, just so that it's in the background and nobody notices, but it's there, just like in the film.
I like
have them as ornaments all around your house.
Yeah, so I haven't actually... Well, I haven't seen the unedited version. I've caught this first Zombieland on TV. It's really the only way I've watched it so far, which I enjoyed, but I think I've only seen it probably the one time on television, so I haven't really revisited it in a while. So I kind of overlooked this sequel, to be honest.
So I think that's the palatable way that you need horror presented to you.
Yeah.
And I think it's like the way that you would enjoy it.
It's one that, like, I knew of the movie. I heard a lot of people talking about it. I never went out of my way to see it, and one time just happened to catch it flipping the channels. I was like, all right, you know what? I'll sit down and start watching this and see what this is about. Sort of be in on the conversation that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. I should actually make it a point to watch it again.
So this is a question I have about the edited version, and I know you're not gonna be into, like, there's gore in the other version, but in the edited version, do you get the opening sequence of For Whom the Bell Tolls playing with the whole sequence going that's just a complete and utter, like, metaphor of all the things wrong in our society while that's happening?
See, now it's been a while, so I don't even remember that sequence very well.
The one sequence of it that makes me think it's definitely not is there's actually a part where there's a zombie stripper running with, like, pasties on, chasing down what looks to be...
Oh, yeah.
Like an obviously married man running away from the strip club with money still in his hand, not willing to let go of the money while he's running away from the stripper, even though the end of the world's obviously happening around him. But there's much more in that opening sequence where it's like, it prepares you for the broader strokes that are going to be presented to you, that, like, it touches on so many ridiculous things about our society just in that brief little snippet.
I mean, I don't vividly remember that, but then again, maybe I tuned in just after that or something. Like, maybe I missed the very beginning.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I saw it and don't remember it, or just completely missed that part of the movie tuning in on television.
Fair enough.
Paula, anything to add for Zombieland?
Wow, so much. I have so much to say about Zombieland. No, I've never seen it. But I feel like you could probably be like, someone who should be like an app on my Nook or my Kindle and be like, if you liked Shaun of the Dead, you will like Zombieland. Because I love Shaun of the Dead. Like, to me, that's not a horror flick. Like, to me, that's like a Simon
Zombieland
Pegg.
is not horror.
Yeah, like I've never seen it, but I love everything Simon Pegg. So like, if you're like, well, if you like this, you would like this. Would you like some fries with your shake? Yes, I would. So like, maybe I've overlooked it, but it's because, I didn't think it would be something I would like. But if it's, kind of like that same genre, like you would enjoy this, I might be more apt to see it.
I mean, Edgar Wright kind of has his own thing. It's kind of his own genre, I would say, and what he does with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost
is beautiful. It's poetry.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call it that genre. This is a much more grounded, I think, than what Edgar Wright did with those movies.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But it is not a horror film.
Okay.
Like, there's zombies in it, but they're not the story. Like, getting away from zombies is not the story at all.
It's not as much of, like, in the way that Shaun of the Dead kind of, like, deconstructs the zombie movie genre in the way that it then kind of turns it on its head a little bit to make fun of it, but also be, like, dark comedy. It doesn't do that as much. It's still dark comedy set against the background of a zombie world. But it just doesn't necessarily approach it in the way that, like, the filmmakers were, like I said, like, looking at a bunch of other zombie movies and thinking, how can we comment on zombie movies and the way they've been made in the past while also telling something funny. Like, there's very little in Zombieland that I think relies on addressing tropes about zombies or zombie movies to make its joke or make its point, but it still definitely has that, we're telling you a scary story entirely in through the lens of obscene humor.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah,
so that's another one, Paula. If you end up watching that, you can report back.
Okay.
Zombieland is not
it on
to be
Netflix?
missed. I don't know.
I'll find it.
I'm not sure.
It's something else we can research. Paula, I guess what's your number 2?
Okay, so I would like to set the scene. The year is 2013. A small independent movie that comes out in the wintertime. It is called Frozen. You guys may have heard of it. Yes. So it brings in almost $1.3 billion at the box office. There's been 2 shorts that have come out. And apparently at the end of 2019, we will finally be getting Frozen 2. I stalked Frozen before it was even a movie. I have followed the concept art. I have the book of the concept art. I love this flippin' movie. And so does every other little girl in America, pretty much knows Let It Go. It is a beautiful story. It's just about sisterly love, and it's coming out. The sequel is coming out. It is my number 2. It will be out in November.
Do you know anything about the plot for this movie? Because I knew this was coming, but I know nothing about what it's supposed to be about.
Not a thing. So, the same writers and directors are on board. I can't remember who was giving the interview. There's been a lot of speculation that Elsa's going to get a girlfriend. So
Ooh.
they're saying they're not opposed to this idea, that they would actually be okay with it if Elsa had a girlfriend. So it's going to be more of an exploration of Elsa, and the last 2 shorts have been, kind of the fun that she's having being out. So it's going to be
that's already been an established thing?
No, not like out, but like out as like
oh.
Right after you say she's gonna have a girlfriend.
No. Like out with her powers,
established
Josh.
that she's a lesbian, and in this one they'll actually give her a love interest.
So But she's out with her powers. So like people know that she has, these frozen abilities. So now she can come out, she can have fun. And the last two shorts were just amazing, hilarious. The one with Olaf was just fantastic. So yeah, it's gonna be I'm so excited about Frozen 2. It is my number 2.
Yeah, Frozen is the only movie other than Black Panther in at least, I'd say 10 years, if not longer, that was still able to easily be found in theaters when the DVD came out.
Yeah.
And I know that because the first time I watched it, I went to the movie theater with someone who had not, I don't think I had seen it before either, but who hadn't seen it yet. And then I went right over to a friend's house who had bought it like 2 days before when it came out on DVD.
Yeah.
And they were watching it there. So I watched it back to back in the course of like 5 hours.
Well, they also brought it out in a sing-along version. So we also went back and saw it. I think we saw it 3 times in the theaters, twice regular and once as a sing-along. So
Wow.
that's when they put the words on the screen and the entire theater erupts into song, and it is just spectacular. And we still play, I play the music in the store, like where I work, and like it still gives me freaking chills. It's amazing. And like Demi Lovato has her own version, which is fantastic too. Love you, Demi. But yeah, the artwork in it is beautiful. I have the book. It's just a great story. And it appeals to everybody. It's got a great storyline, so it's not just a princess story.
I do love me some Frozen. It did not make my top 10, though.
It's okay. We can still be friends.
I will be the one to admit that I have never seen it. And the most I know about it's the joke from Deadpool 2 about the song from Yentl. That is... I just never saw it. So...
Do you watch most of the other like Disney animated stuff or Pixar stuff, all that stuff?
Some of it. Like when it appeals to me, I'll watch it. And
okay.
Like Incredibles, I watched. Yeah,
because I was going to say, if you've consumed all the other animated features, then you might as well give this one a shot, too. But if you're selective in what you're watching, then I don't know if it'll be for you or not.
I usually, I watch Toy Story. The Lego Movie, I really don't consider on the same wavelength. But still, yeah, I wouldn't miss the Lego Movie. Things like Moana, I enjoyed that. But
okay, well, Frozen might be more up your alley than you think. Then,
yeah, I just like I said, it's not that I wouldn't be interested. I just haven't. Is the best way I would put it.
I'm sure Paula can remedy that.
I could act it out for you in interpretive dance form if you need me to. Anything you need. I actually have
that
yes,
sounds like we need to get together an audience for Paula's interpretive dance version of Frozen.
Yeah. Build some Lego sets and use that to make like a stop motion puppet show.
I have an Elsa outfit. I have been Elsa. It's for a library. So I did a nice thing.
Nice.
As Elsa.
No,
it was totally selfish. I just wanted to be Elsa just for a day. Totally selfish.
Have you worn that dress since?
No, I have not. I have not.
Well, this is your excuse to put it on again then. Interpretive dance time.
I will. I'll act it out for you if you need me to.
All right, anything else for Frozen 2? Nothing? All right. So my number 2, I've been going back and forth probably this entire time we've been recording on my 1 and 2. So I'm just going to finally definitively just pick them. Number 2, I'm going Avengers.
I figured that.
Yeah, I had it written down first as my number 1, but I kept switching it. So I'm finally just going to let it ride with it number 2. And I think, again, if I had seen a trailer for my number 1, it would have easily just been at number 1, but since there's nothing for it currently, and we just got the trailer for Avengers, I've been
even
tossing
a
and turning,
name.
but yeah,
give
something.
us a title, please.
But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to know. Like, just I know when it's coming out. I will be there. Just show me nothing, and I will go.
But as soon as they release anything, you're going to be all over it.
I would love to be as strong as Josh and stay completely away from everything until next December. But I know I am not that strong. I have to watch at least one trailer.
Well, they'll probably. I mean, do you guys think they'll give away like you did last time for Last Jedi? Will they give away the first teaser, and the title at the event you're going to in the spring?
Well,
I imagine
we got Last Jedi before that, didn't we?
We got.
Wasn't it tweeted? I feel like it was a
Yeah,
tweet.
like I feel like we got Last Jedi as a title, and then we got the panel with the trailer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I would expect the first trailer Paula, when we're at Chicago for Celebration.
Yeah.
I have
that'll
such
be
an
your
internal
trailer.
giggle right now. I'm so excited.
Be ready to wait in line overnight to see it first, and it's an amazing
Yeah.
experience. Even like being in there to see it first is amazing. Sleeping on a concrete floor was not quite as amazing.
I'm here.
I know
for
we
it.
have to we have to plan accordingly for that. Mike and I did not plan accordingly
No.
for that.
I feel like we need, like, one
a
of those
chair to
sumo
sleep in,
wrestler,
and it broke halfway through the
like,
night, and then it was
inflatable
bad.
outfits that you can just lay in.
Mike can attest to this. We've seen people just bring out like blow up inflatable rafts.
Yeah, they had the whole
which
deal.
is the easiest thing to pack,
Yeah.
and then you sleep on like an air
That's
mattress
super
basically
smart.
for the night.
Yep.
I'm here
And
for
then
it.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams will show
Full
up at
accessories.
midnight on you or 1 a.m. and everybody will wake up and ruin your night's sleep. Like, that was ridiculous. Because when that happened at Celebration and Ryan Johnson showed up that night, it was actually hilarious because we all knew something was happening. And we figured it was probably him. But we didn't know because he's so short and there was a crowd around him. And you couldn't see because Ryan Johnson, he's got to be, what, 5'3", 5'4"?
Yeah, he's not.
He's
tall
a
man.
very short guy, and there's a giant crowd of people around. You have no idea who's there.
He's cruisian in stature.
Yeah, and it was late at night, and Brian went and waited in line to get an autograph. I just couldn't do it because I had nothing for him to sign, anyways. It would have been like my face.
I got him to sign my badge.
Did it hold up?
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't know where I put it, to be honest, but it's somewhere with the signature on it.
But it was an awesome experience to be in that room, and if you're lucky, you get a little celebrity host. I said that. That was mean. I said that wrong. You get a celebrity host.
Oh, a little celebrity.
Yeah,
I get it now.
Yeah.
Because Warwick Davis was the host.
Yeah.
Aw.
I didn't mean to say it that way. But yeah, Warwick Davis as a host was great, and the whole thing, the whole experience of them releasing that trailer was awesome. So, looking forward to that. Obviously, I think my number one is Star Wars. I'm assuming Brian's number one is Star Wars, and Paula's is Star
Yeah, we might as well
Wars.
just bring it all around.
And so we know that, Josh, you're number one.
Well, I made the right decision
Star Wars.
and designated Endgame as my number one.
Yeah, I think once we get to the top of everyone's list, I feel like there's very little surprises. Zombieland 2 was a little bit of a surprise, I think. But I think that was more of a surprise just because I assumed Avengers was going to be there, and it was not for Mike. But yeah, Josh, I am not surprised that Star Wars did not make your top 10 at all.
Yeah, me neither.
Is it at least honorable mentions?
Yeah, I mean, it's on the calendar. I haven't... I mean, even to some degree, I mean, Solo was watchable. It had redeeming qualities. Like, there's nothing about these that I don't like. It's just that if they're there, I'll watch them. Okay.
Yeah.
This hurts.
All right, fair
this
enough.
hurts. I'm in a little bit of pain
Get
right
used to
now.
it, Paula.
Ow.
This is what we get all the time from
Okay.
him on these.
It was okay.
All right, so do we want to try to maybe quickly try to go through honorable mentions for everybody? What didn't make the cut
Oh, God.
barely for your lists?
All right, so of things that were mentioned, I have two I have 2 honorable mentions that did not get discussed. I have a list of a lot of honorable mentions, but only 2 of them did not get discussed. The first one is Dumbo. I'm shocked that was not on Paula's list, actually.
Yeah. I
Not
have
a Dumbo
reasons.
fan?
I can go into those reasons if you'd like.
It's okay. I'm just mentioning it. I'm surprised it didn't make anybody's list, but Dumbo, it looks like it's going to be cool. Looks like it's going to be fun. And the other one, I didn't think anybody would have, and there's not enough information about it as of yet for it to have been in consideration for the number 10 slot over 3 from Hell. The title of this movie is The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot.
I've seen this, and I want it now.
Yes, exactly. This is Sam Elliott.
Yes.
He's playing a war hero who is then tasked with hunting down Bigfoot. And with a title of The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot, how can you not want to watch this movie? Like, just right there, you have my attention. Like, I'm probably going to check this out just to see what the fuck's going on here, because I gotta know. Like,
right, and then you put Sam Elliott in it, and you're like, oh, okay, this actually kind of has maybe some legitimacy.
Yeah, you give it a real actor, not like Ian Ziering, since we mentioned that earlier. Because with a title like that, that's about what you would expect as a Sharknado star. So, yeah, those would be the 2 that did not get mentioned that I'm still really looking forward to the most, per se. Once we see more about that second one, we'll see just how much.
Nice. I guess we'll go on to Josh, honorable mentions.
A couple that I just know like are on the calendar. I don't know if I per se would call them honorable mentions or not, but they have my interest. Escape Room, a movie called Chaos Walking, Captive State. What else? Oh, so I thought this actually was an interesting dynamic. So apparently, I think sometime in August, we're getting a 3rd installment in the Something Has Fallen series.
Oh,
The first being
yeah.
Olympus, the second being London.
Angel
Has Fallen. Yeah, and it's just interesting because I think the year was it 2016 that London Has Fallen was coming out. That was on the top 10 for several of us for anticipated.
Because Olympus was so fucking
Yeah,
good.
and
Yeah, it was.
I still didn't think London was that bad, but Olympus definitely had an edge over it.
London, I think, I don't know if it took, like, being confined in the White House for an action movie was so brilliant.
Yeah.
And they did it so well that I don't know if London, like, sort of globetrotting around, not globetrotting, but moving outside around the city maybe took some away from the isolation.
Yeah, I think they needed to be more creative with the filmmaking when they were in closed quarters.
Right. So this one, Angel Has Fallen, is supposed to be the same type of plot, but confined to Air Force One.
Yeah.
So that could bring it back around, maybe.
It could. Yeah, just kind of pointing out that like it didn't really register for any of us this time around. As compared
I
to the
noticed
last
it,
one.
but it was like, yeah, I again, if I saw a trailer or something for that, it was a little bit more fresh in my mind. I think would have helped, but going in blind, I need a little bit more.
Yeah. The last couple I would say, there is some kind of animated Addams Family movie being released in around Halloween time, I think. I don't know if it's completely like stop motion. It looks like it's somewhat, we'll call it Tim Burton-esque in style. I'm into Halloween and horror gothic and Addams Family is always fun, so if it's kind of trying to bring around, like, even if it's like kid friendly, it's like a PG version or something, but it's just weird, then hey, I'm down for that.
When I first saw that and I saw the casting, I was so depressed when I seen that it was going to not be a live action movie.
Oh, because you wanted them to be the real people.
Yes, exactly.
For the ones that they selected.
If you're not aware, Brian, Paula, Oscar Isaac was cast as Gomez.
Ooh.
Charlize Theron was cast as Morticia. Chloe Grace Moretz as Wednesday. Nick Kroll as Uncle Fester. And I'm just like, and Bette Midler's cast as Grandmama. And I'm just like, I wanted this to be a live action film. And then it crushed me when I seen that it was going to be animated. I was like, oh my god, just for Oscar Isaac's turn as Gomez, it would be worth it.
That would be.
Yeah.
Because he's so perfect to be Gomez. I didn't even think of it before that I seen that, and now that I see it, I'm like, why is it gotta be animated? So, unfortunately, it's animated, but the animation still looks like it could be fun. Like Josh said.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Live action, that makes my top 10, though. Just gonna put that out there.
That's all I got.
Okay. Paula, any honorable mentions?
Yeah, so Dumbo, kind of torn. It's Tim Burton, but it's also gonna rip my heart out and stomp on it. So a little CGI elephant with a clown face. Yeah, I couldn't even make it through the preview. Really want to see it, but it's going to rip me in half. We talked about How to Train Your Dragon 3. Death on the Nile. So, an Agatha Christie story. Kenneth Branagh is back, but he's also got Gal Gadot in this one. So I loved Murder on the Orient Express. I've read probably every Agatha Christie book, so I'm very excited about Death on the Nile. It's not something that, I don't need to catch the first week, so I don't think it's, bound for my top 10, but I'm going to see it.
Josh and I were actually just talking about that one before we started recording.
Yeah. So the last one I have is Rocket Man. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
So kind of Bohemian Rhapsody-esque. I don't know.
I love me some Taron Egerton.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. I have never seen Kingsman, so
okay.
I don't know much about him, but
he's great in Kingsman.
He's in the Elton John commercial that just came out. The Elton John commercial was amazing. It was like a Christmas
I don't know if I've seen
commercial. I'll find it and tag you on it. It was really, really nice. But he's in that, and I've watched this commercial a couple of times, and then to find out that it's going to actually be a movie, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So that is
Well, the fun part of that is Elton John has a cameo in Kingsman 2.
Oh, more than a cameo, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
A small
extended
part.
cameo. Yeah.
With Rocketman, I was really surprised to see Taron Egerton cast. I'm interested to see how it goes. Because I don't feel like whereas like Rami Malek with Bohemian Rhapsody, he looked the part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Taron Egerton has at all that look of Elton John.
Okay.
Like in the previews that I've seen of it. I still don't feel like he looks like Elton John in it, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work.
Yeah, and I mean, other than grabbing like an up-and-coming actor, I don't know who else who has some heat right now and who's established like that would fit the part. No one quickly comes to mind.
That's young enough, I'm not sure, but like instantly my mind went to James McAvoy. But
maybe given the right makeup department, maybe.
Yeah. I feel like he could play it, but at the same time, I don't know that he's young enough for what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, fun fact, the director that was brought in to finish shooting Bohemian Rhapsody after Bryan Singer disappeared and then got fired. Even though, so I read up on this, like, because he had technically shot so much of the used end product, he still got the sole director credit on Bohemian Rhapsody.
He did.
But the guy who they brought in to finish filming that movie is the person who is directing Rocketman.
Oh, that makes sense.
Cool.
All right, so we'll move on to mine. I mentioned a couple that just missed the cut. Alita Battle Angel was on my list last year. Other better stuff this year, I feel like, pushed it out. Lego Movie 2, John Wick 3. One for me that I had to look at to make sure it was still scheduled to come out this year is the next Men in Black movie.
Oh,
is
really?
it?
It still is?
Couldn't tell if that was solid or not.
Yeah.
There's no trailer. There's no... IMDb is listing it as... I just looked it up. June. And I think the tentative title is Men in Black International. So I'm just... I love that franchise with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, so I'm curious to see what they do with Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, they might want to workshop that title a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, unless it is some sort of globe-trotting adventure. I don't know.
It's just it's a terrible title.
Yeah, well, got to separate it somehow, I guess. So yeah, I'm curious to see where they go with that. There was 2 other movies that I just in my searching I thought sounded different, not different, but I don't know. They caught my attention. I don't know if they're going to be any good, but I just want to bring them up. The first one comes out in March, and it's called The Beach Bum.
Oh yeah.
That's the only tagline for it says a rebellious stoner named Moondog lives life by his own rules.
Sounds just like
which
me.
Moondog is
It's
Matthew
McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Yeah.
And he looks like such a douche in this picture. It's listed as a comedy. He is in the movie Snoop Dogg, Isla Fisher, Martin Lawrence, Zac Efron, Jonah Hill. So
Alright.
I just kind of want to see what that turns out to be.
Oh, and Jimmy Buffett as himself.
Is he? I missed that.
He was just walking along the beach one day, and they just shot him, and they got him to sign a piece of paper. That was all.
And then the other one that I came across is called Boss Level, which is a retired special forces officer is trapped in a never-ending time loop on the day of his death.
See that
Directed
I saw that, but...
by Joe Carnahan,
Oh, okay.
starring Mel Gibson, Michelle Yeoh, Naomi Watts, Frank Grillo, Ken Jeong.
See, but to me, that almost, depending on the mood of it, like that sounds like Happy Death Day to me,
It sounds...
or
Okay.
Groundhog Day. You know?
See, I got the Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
type of vibe
that's
from
what
it.
I was going to say is Edge of Tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's sci-fi action thriller. That's due in August. I really want to see a trailer for this and see what this looks like. I don't know. Like it with a title like Boss Level, like I could almost feel like it's got a video game vibe to it.
Could be. That would be awesome. You know what? Like being reborn all the time. Maybe he lives in a video game and somebody pops a quarter in. You know, like, reborn! Fight him again.
So I'm hoping there's some weird kind of catch to it or twist or something like that. But not a lot to go on, but enough that I am a little bit interested.
I hear that.
But yeah, that's where my list ends. Any other final thoughts, or we can wrap it up 3 hours later?
Much to look forward to in the upcoming year.
Yeah, this was the hardest list I've had to make yet. This year coming up is huge and chock full of awesome movies. So
It's like I never realized how much is coming up in the given year until we sit down to make this list, and then I'm like, shit.
yeah, I'm looking forward to spending lots of time in the theater. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's my happy place.
Yes.
All right, well, I guess if you have enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite the show. You can find us on Facebook, search Bry Guy and Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff there, or you can email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com, or tweet us on Twitter @BGSuperFriends. I am hopefully a little bit more responsive on Twitter, so that could be a good avenue, too, for anyone that wants to send us stuff.
Tweet.
Yeah. So I hope you guys had fun. Hope you got some nice ideas for what to look forward to in the next year. Paula, I think you have some homework to do.
Totally. A little bit.
And so does Mike. He has to
Watch Frozen.
let it go.
Oh, yeah. All right, so on behalf of Josh, Mike, Paula, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.